Jessica Blaylock.
I am great. How are you guys?
Doing all right. You foresee that happening where they go down on the field? I mean, you might be involved in these kind of interviews where you have to ask the manager who he likes, in terms of the price and or over the first 5 innings. This is something Minervini would probably be an advocate of.
I was just about to say, I would pay money to have a front row seat to watching Craig ask managers and coaches about the money line. Sign me up for that.
In-game would be so great.
It's bound to become a requirement, I would think, of any kind of sideline reporting or field reporting, because they come so close. I mean, to having the commissioner himself actually pick the games.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
We're too humble to beat our own chest here and blow our own horn, but I think we're onto something. I really do.
Are we?
I believe it's only a matter of time before it becomes one of the obligatory 3 questions. I guess they get 2 questions to a coach coming off the field. Unless it's Nick Saban, then they get 1. But it seems to be contractually obligated for the coach to talk to the sideline reporter as they leave the field. And it happens in the NBA also. It's also a 2-question proposition, is it not? Right. Let's go to George Sedano down there on the sidelines. George, what do you got? Well, Pop, you going to do anything different in the second half? Yeah, we're going to try and score more. Oh, we know these interviews are, not exactly loaded or laced with substance, which is fine. I mean, and do you want to hear from the coach? It'd be nice if he said something. Once in a while, I mean, you get a coach that actually says something, and you're like, wow, it's a shock. He actually said something. Unbelievable. He's really going to switch and, go man-to-man in the second half after getting buried in this zone defense the entire first half of a ball game. But it's only a matter of time before that becomes one of the obligatory questions, and the coaches and the managers will be well aware of it. Okay? We're going to ask you if you were in a position to, make a wager and lay 3 points in the second half with the Chiefs, would you do it right now? You're talking to, like, Sean McVay, with the Rams. And the coach goes, hey, I don't know, man. I mean, Joe's a little more, gimpy than we thought he was over there on the defensive line. We're never going to get to Mahomes. Go ahead. Lay the 3. Only a matter of time, my friends. If you were laying 2.5 last night with the Miami Hurricanes, yeah. Rarely do we become cheerleaders on this program, but we love Jim Larinaga, man. I mean, no matter what we're doing, he's always available for us. We love talking to him. It's a fascinating conversation. It's interesting to see that, and I'll never forget this. I know I've mentioned this many times, but one of the things, and I was just looking this up because I had lost my knowledge of the source of the title "Look Back in Anger," which was always one of my favorite titles of anything. And turns out it was a play written by a guy named John Osborne in 1956. Look Back in Anger. Which is what most people do they not? I mean, as you're looking at your life, do you look back in anger for whatever reason, right? Maybe you thought you should have done more with your life. Maybe you should have made a move on Janet Endelman when you were in high school, and now you regret it today because you see her on Facebook, and she's rich and happy. You're thinking, wow, that could have been me the entire time. Look back in anger. Now, it's not a good thing to do if you're processing your life. And I try to do this on my walks of life every day, which I have resumed. And yesterday, fairly unimpeded yesterday.
Nice.
I go today to see, I get a little tape removal and an x-ray, see if I'm good to go for, the rest of my activities, which essentially are watching TV and playing tennis outside of the walk of life and eating a lot. But no, I can't say that I'm eating a lot because we do have to use as the barometer of whether or not you're overeating our good friend. And he has reason to do it. I mean, Mike Mayo, we love the guy, but man, I have never seen a guy polish off more food where a guy literally jumps from one meal right to another one. I mean, and we're not talking about like the guy had a couple of peanut butter crackers out of the machine there. He got some of those stale peanut butter crackers on cheese, and he said he was only going to eat 2, and then ended up eating the whole pack, and then goes off and has a cheeseburger. I mean, we're talking about like going to the Catherine there for a 17-course meal, which includes extracting your own bone marrow and dipping it in like strawberry jam. And then going out and having a pizza at the pizza spot and eating the whole thing. It's incredible, man.
It's scary is what it is. We need him to survive.
I mean, that movie, The Whale, I think, he might want to watch that again. No, it's right. It's not like he's changed size or anything. I mean, he's a little bigger than he was when he was, writing sports. But that's going to happen, right? You
No,
become
we
the
all
food
are.
critic for the Sun Sentinel. It's a dangerous, slippery slope, as they said in the movie The Hurricane, right? Rod Steiger was playing the judge in that movie, the federal judge that said, "You're traveling down a slippery slope." In other words, Ruben, you are fucked if you lose this appeal, and in all likelihood, you're going to lose, right? He ended up getting off, but that was great. Innocent man. That was one of the biggest railroad jobs.
He sucked.
Wow, my God. Patterson, New Jersey. Unbelievable.
Wasn't it like 20 something years? Was it like 20 something years he was in?
I think he did 16 years or something like that. So, some enormous amount of time. Yeah. But, one of the worst frame jobs ever with a crooked cop and the whole system. It's very much intact today, is it not? I mean, all of these same parameters and guidelines are still there. So, people are getting railroaded right and left. No, we are, hard pressed to do anything about it except going, wow, look at that. Another guy completely screwed. 30 years later, he's exonerated.
Pride shouldn't get in the way. And I feel like it does a lot. Like, I feel like the law enforcement, as my family has learned, I didn't realize how prideful they were. Like, if they're wrong, they're not going to admit they're wrong, which I don't get. Like, they rush to judgment in a way I didn't know they did.
Yeah.
But I thought, okay, when you have video and stuff proving that you're wrong, they go, ups. No, they double down.
It's kind of like instant replay in the NFL.
Yes.
Where they're going to go, okay, that sure looked like a fumble to me. I don't know. By any definition I know, a fumble by, that was it. Guy had the ball in his hands. He's still standing up. He wasn't, having his momentum stopped. Put it on the ground, as they like to say. Well, he put that one on the ground. And, there it was. It was covered by the other team. But no. Whistle blew.
God forbid.
Something happened. All right. I brought up this look back in anger for a reason because, and I tried to use this as a policy. Now, you know that performers are going to be ultra sensitive.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to develop a little bit of a thick skin, although it always hurts if somebody says, your show sucks or, geez, DeForest, man, he is awful. And you hear that. And even, okay, so, I've been doing this here in this town over 40 years. So, you would have to assume it's just like with ratings where, a program director would panic because the ratings were, it was conducted by a company called Arbitron, but it may as well have been arbitrary. And it was so wildly inconsistent that there was no way to really put a lot of faith into it, except to say that overall, if you looked at things, and things, you would see this all the time where, back in the day where you used to actually have like a measurable share of the audience in radio ratings before they became so minuscule that it's not even worth looking at. But you would have like a 6 share of the percentage of people that were listening to the radio that were in the demographic of 25 to 54-year-old men. That was the desired demographic in sports talk. And okay, so you posted a 6-1 book. Now you're good for 3 months. All right. Then the next period of time would come out, and all of a sudden you drop down to a 3.9.
It changed.
And you're thinking, wait a minute, man, how did I lose a third of my audience there? Oh, well, it's summertime. People are out of town. I don't know. Then the next one would come out, and you would have like a 6.4. And thinking, wow, amazing. I don't know how much better I was over the last 3 months, but I increased my audience by 40%. These wild swings are not fathomable. They're not possible. There's no way that they could be accurate. So you would realize that, okay, what you have to look at is maybe a summation over a long period of time. Don't get too caught up in, oh, geez, now what am I going to do? I got a 3.9 and, they're putting pressure on me to, be more organized on the air and not ramble so much. And maybe don't make so many jokes. Stick to, I always loved this when they would bring in a consultant and he would tell you in sports talk, just play the hits.
Well, I don't know what that means.
Which seems to be the dominant thought and wavelength that most people operate on now, especially with all of this network radio, where they only talk about LeBron James, Aaron Rodgers. Now, then he's in the news, or and the same story over and over and over and over again. Now, there's going to be a certain element of sameness in this kind of work anyway, because let's face it, what is everybody zeroed in on this week? They're starting to get some real sentiment and momentum going for the Super Bowl. The teams arrived in Arizona. Normally, we would be, packing our bags here, maybe even bringing them to the station. Remember, you used to have everything all packed up in a trunk, and we would do a show till like 9 so we could catch a plane at noon and then go off to Arizona, which I I was in Arizona twice for Super Bowls. I've been there other times, many times, but twice for Super Bowls. Once with you, Mike Lubie Lubitz,
Yes, I did
as a matter
one.
of fact.
Yeah.
What Super Bowl was that, man? I don't even remember who played. Do you?
I don't know. They all
They start to blend together, that's for sure. Look back in anger, my friend, that you can't remember shit.
I remember being in Arizona. I remember meeting Grease Hauber, who's now like a superstar in the
Yeah.
UFC world. That's all I remember from Arizona and desert. There's a lot of desert. I remember a lot of
A lot of
desert.
cactus, man. What was that? I mean, and the airport only had what was that crappy Dodge car?
Oh God.
That I remember renting one of those one time, and what a piece of junk that was. It was a good looking car. It looked like it would be an interesting car to drive, and yet it was just a real piece of shit. I mean, it was unbelievable. Like renting a Yugo back in the day.
God.
Ugliness. It was ugliness, but it was a lot of driving. The best part, as I recall, imagine this. I remember checking into a real cheesy Motel 6, way away from the site there, the downtown site where the Super Bowl convention stuff was taking place. Because at the time, I was like dead broke, and Leslie Visser had suggested to me, why don't you come out to Radio Row, cover the Super Bowl, just change it up a little bit. I was working a couple of different jobs, and so I actually had like a show. I was doing some morning sports updates on one station and working at night, actually on 1470 on my own there. That was not a very favorable period of time in my career. But as I've always said, and I would give this advice to anybody that gets into this business, you're way better off having something going than nothing. Be on the air somewhere. Do something. I mean, and now that you can manufacture your own deal, I mean, it's ridiculous not to have anything going whatsoever and just sit back and say, hey, you know what? Now that there's only one sports station in town and they carry all of 3 live shows, I'll just sit here and wait till they call me at 71 years old. Not happening, right? I mean, but I felt this way always that, and there are going to be times that you're in between jobs, you get hosed by somebody, station changes formats, you get fired, you get coned in a bad beat. Maybe you're in between jobs or whatever, but, or you try something different. But always good to have some action going. So that was it. I was doing this like 1470 thing for a while, and fortunately, I had a couple of good, loyal, faithful sponsors that didn't mind that nobody could hear the station at night. Hey, the show sounds great. If I could hear it, I'd listen. So I go and I'm trying to book the cheapest hotel. I mean, where you're going to find a cheap hotel? Certainly not anywhere in the vicinity of where you want to be. So I was way out in the boondocks there, outside of the Super Bowl site. And sure enough, I go to a Motel 6. And now at the time, even though my credit score was dipping into the 500s, I had a Platinum American Express card that I had from when I was flush, which wasn't that far in the past from where I was that day.
Exactly.
And I remember checking in, to the Motel 6, and I laid down my Platinum ATM card. I mean, my Platinum American Express card, and the clerk at the front desk, who had like 3 teeth and, looked like he'd been living in the desert, maybe sucking down peyote buttons for a long period of time, looks at me and says, do you have anything else?
They don't even take it.
They don't even take it. They didn't even know. They thought it was like a foreign, means of payment there. So I had to come up with $60 cash for the night, which was it. But the proximity to Turf Paradise, the racetrack, what was really the beautiful thing there. I didn't even realize it because I blew by my hotel exit. You couldn't even see this stupid place. And I go one exit past, and there it is, man, as if it was an oasis in the middle of the desert. And there it was, Turf Paradise. So I ended up hanging out at the track most of the time that I was there. But we had a pretty good time there, as I recall. It wasn't the greatest.
Fun. Well, I think that was one of those where they treated us well. So for us, it was fun. It was like Minnesota, where like I will never need to go to Minnesota again, but they at least treated us well. Whereas in New York, I love New York, but they could give a shit if we were there.
New York could have been very exciting, but that was probably the roughest thing to navigate that we had the entire time that we were doing that, like 12 years or so that we did that. Anyway, and that would be the common thing, to talk about all of the hits or whatever. I mean, that's any consultant is going to tell you that, and it's ugly. Now, the other thing I would say, don't ever, try to figure out, like if you lose a job in this business, don't look back in anger.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you know what? They replaced you with a guy who sucks. Now, people may come up and tell you that. Oh, man, I really miss your show. But, rarely would I try to, look back and say, "Hey, I don't care. Once you left the station and that show was over, just concentrate on the new show. Whatever
Yep.
you're doing now, that's what you're into, right? I mean, we're far enough removed from that 940 show. As good as I thought it was, and when I do look back on it, I think, wow, Lubie, we did a great job on that show.
Good.
That was a lot of fun. But and for people that thought that we were mailing it in, we far from it.
Yeah,
You especially. I mean, we're always coming up with good stuff.
we had
I might
4
have been mailing it in.
I don't know what mailing it in.
You can't mail in a morning show 6 to 10 in
it's
the
4
morning. You
hours.
cannot mail that in. It's impossible. You can't go Tony Romo on that.
Oh no.
You're going to have to work at it. I mean, somehow to maintain and sustain. And a lot of people find this out too. I mean, you can come on the air and maybe you have a lot of good ideas, and a lot of people think, wow, this is easy to do. I could do that, and it probably is easy to do. But you have to be able to do it every day.
Yeah.
That's the thing. A lot of people, they blow their whole wad there in the first show, and then they got to come back on Tuesday and come up with something else, and it's like, now what do I do?
Exactly.
And that seems to separate the guys that have some kind of ability to sustain themselves, even if they're not very good, but they still have the ability to sort of carry on day after day. I mean, it's 20 hours a week of yakking, right? I mean, you're going to have to come up with something. So anyway, I left the station a couple of times. 640 was the station I was on. And, I always went for like a better job. I ended up doing something else. And, it was a much better position. And then, I was replaced, I remember, by Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald. He was paired up with another guy. And I'll never forget this. I tuned in just to see what they were doing because our good friend Eric the Red Lingell was still working on the show. So I said, well, let me see what these guys are doing. So I pop on the show, and I hear Salguero screaming, and he's yelling and screaming, "I can't believe they hired this guy. He's 61 years old.
Oh, yeah.
61 years old." I mean, on and on. I guess he thought that was the thing, was to be flamboyant, and be more demonstrative, as if, screaming your point made it, more emphatic that you were right, which, unfortunately, in this case, this guy couldn't have been any more dead wrong. Now, he may have been right about a zillion other things, not to condemn Salguero. I'm sure he's a fine representative. I mean, a lot of people respect his work with the Dolphins because he sort of is willing to tangle with those guys and irritate them, and comes up with, I guess, a lot of scoops. I don't know. Is he still doing it, Armando Salguero?
He does the Outkick where Cole is. He's more politically inclined to what Outkick is.
And I like the guy. I mean, I'm not condemning him personally by any stretch of the imagination.
NFL. He still does a lot of Dolphins, but he's more national for Outkick now.
Okay, so who was he screaming about? He's 61 years old. I can't believe they hired this guy.
That's so funny.
Jim Larinaga.
Still kicking.
But could you be more wrong? I don't know that you could be more wrong. I mean, a perfect guy for the University of Miami. Did you watch the game last night? You know what amazed me? Because I did a lot of those crummy games with Leonard Hamilton when the team couldn't win a game. I believe they had lost 17 straight in the Big East where they were competing at the time. And it was just horrible. Every night you knew it was going to be another loss. It was a brick festival. They had a couple of players that Leonard had recruited that were pretty good, but unfortunately were damaged goods. Stevie Frazier, who was there like longer than John Blutarski, was at Faber. What was a 30-point-a-game scorer like Coney Island basketball teams. I mean, this guy was a New York. If you're averaging 30 a game in high school in New York, you're probably pretty good, man. I mean, you could be Sebastian Telfair, at that point. So as a college player, you're going to excel. This guy blows out his knee in the very first practice that he participates in, and was never the same. He really was, I mean, just absolutely impeded by this throughout his entire career, which also, had many, intermittent injuries occur where he was out of the lineup, in and out. So one of Leonard's biggest recruits coming in, Leonard Hamilton, Stevie Frazier, turned out to be a bust. Then he also had, was it Douglas? No, it was Stevie Edwards. Douglas Edwards was the good player that went to Florida State. Stevie Edwards, I think, also had knee problems early in his tenure at the University of Miami. So here was another like top flight recruit. You're thinking, wow, they got Steve Frazier and Steve Edwards, and neither of these guys could play a lick. And then his team was led by a point guard named Kevin Norris, who I'll never forget. Nice enough kid, I guess. I got to know a lot of these guys. You had Constantine Popa on the team. the 7'5" guy who was like 112 pounds, Romanian cat. Good guy. I used to talk to him all the time on the travel. And I always wonder why wouldn't they just throw the ball back into this guy under the basket instead of hoisting up these awful bricks that they were firing from 3-point range. Anyway, to make a long story short, the team was horrible and never won any games. And, and the atmosphere was so, just absolutely unappealing. The women's games probably drew more fans. It was horrible because they played the games at the old Miami Arena before they had put up this new facility that became FTX and is now South Florida Live or something. I don't know what
Miami Arena or something. It's like Miami Arena.
Yeah, we have arenas that I can't draw a single sponsor dollar, and if they do, that sponsor is likely to just crumple and bury the rest of the public with it. Their Sam Bankman-Fried Arena or whatever that was called before. But you would do the road games, and there was a lot of enthusiasm for college basketball around the Big East and other Big East cities. You'd go to Providence, and people in town. You'd be having breakfast somewhere, and everybody's talking. You going to the game tonight? You going to the game? Boston to a lesser extent because they had a lot more activity. Syracuse, of course. It was dominant. Syracuse basketball. They didn't have really anything else to talk about in that city. A lot of the Big East, Philadelphia, what was a big basketball town, and they had Kerry Kittles was the big star at Villanova when I was doing those games.
90s, yep.
That was a long time ago, Defo, wasn't it?
It was 90s. I remember him then. They were great.
Kerry Kittles was a good player. He was a quality player. And there was UConn. Look, it was a holiday whenever there was a game at UConn, women's or men's, at the Campbell Pavilion. And you would roll in there. And I remember Paul D saying to me on one of these trips, we were doing a game at UConn, and they had some real good stars there, right? They had Hamilton and several others, that were of.
Khalid El-Amin. They were loaded. That's when they were winning it almost every other year. And then they went into the Emeka Okafor. And Ben.
Duran Sheffer, man, the kid from Israel. He was pretty good.
Yep, they were loaded. That team was nuts.
Who was the guy that became, did he become the coach of the team also? And also was a very good player there. They had a lot of, real good talent there.
They had a run that was ridiculous.
Anyway, so every other city that we went to, it was amazing. And I remember Paul D telling me that this is what we want to do. We want to build something on campus here, which was Leonard's big issue, that as long as he doesn't have an on-campus arena, he's screwed. There's no way. He takes a recruit out, and they tour the campus and they see the bikini-clad babes there on the quad. They go by the pool. Everything looks like it's going to be the most exciting thing that ever happened in a young man's life. And then the kid says, so where do we play? and Leonard's theory was if he could even just stick a shovel in the ground somewhere on campus and say, well, we're going to have that new building over there. This is what it's going to look like. He would have been able to sign a lot more talent there. But it was completely unappealing to roll on the train down to the Miami Arena, which was a bit of a dump. Even when it was erected, it was already a fossil. And the area was all decrepit and everything, as we know. And they rarely come through on their promises to fix it up. Have they really, done any kind of beautification in that area down there after 32 years of Heat basketball? No, nothing, right?
No.
I think Zoe put a couple of hoops up on a telephone pole, and outside of that.
Right around the arena is nice, but 2 blocks over is Overtown.
right. 2 blocks over. You're thinking, geez, I'm going to keep my hand on my wallet, and I just hope to get out of here alive, right? Which I don't know that everybody has made it out of there. It's a little rough.
It's not.
I generally, feel okay. Even sometimes it's not like I'm James Caan and the Gambler walking through bad neighborhoods, but because I did a lot of it when I was growing up in New York. But, I'm not the biggest fan. I would much rather be walking on A1A in the sunshine there. 100%. In the sunshine of your love. But the Wasco Center, now what is Wasco? Is that an air conditioning company? Do we know? Wasco Center. They built this arena on campus, and, it's a nice facility.
Wynwood's not that close to the Miami Arena, so I don't know what this guy's talking about, but that's not Wynwood.
Did you see, though? The crowd, what was insane, the Canes are 13-0 at home this year. 13-0, Lubie. That was a great bet last night. They were laying 2.5 against a Duke team that isn't all that great. And they had just come off a road win over Clemson, and they blew them out of the building. But the crowd was fantastic. I I know Jim Larinaga is always saying, "Hey, come out and support Hurricane basketball and stuff like that." And you're thinking it's really an afterthought here in this town. College basketball always has been, because you've mentioned it a few times, right? People don't even remember that this team was in the Great Eight last year.
Yeah, no one remembers that at all. They talked about it
That was
night.
last year. I mean, it wasn't like a COVID year that you forgot about or you had too much of a fever.
Company, heating and cooling. It's a heating and cooling company.
There you go. All right. Well, whatever it is, I mean, it's a funny name for an arena, the Wasco Center. And yet, I mean, they were jamming in there last night, Lubie. I mean, that is a vital transformation that's been orchestrated by one Jim Larinaga and whoever, is involved in promoting this sort of stuff. But it looked like, now maybe because it was Duke. I mean, did they not pack this place all the time now? Because that looked like something that had become a thing to do, Lubie. And that's go to Hurricane basketball games. And you could have never envisioned this 30 some odd years ago when I was traveling around with a very, very haphazard Hurricane program that you thought was more likely to go to extinction than it was, to prosper. But Jim Larinaga has really been the steady metronomic, presence here and has done a tremendous job. Even if Jimmy Boeheim says he bought a team, well, who did he buy? Come on, Jimmy B, name some names. Who did he buy on that team? You look at the players on that team. Nobody is overwhelmingly spectacular on that Hurricane basketball team. All good players play. I mean, in total symmetry. They really play together as a team. It's entertaining to watch. They seem to play with a little bit of an attitude in that they're sort of fearless in terms of taking shots. They don't really cave in when things aren't going their way. They have lost some close games, at the very end, which is typical of all teams that play college basketball in this era of overwhelming parity. But wow, I mean that was exciting last night, was it not, Lubie? I mean, did you not think, hey, if it wasn't such a schlep, one of our common themes, if it wasn't such a schlep, wouldn't it be enjoyable to go down there and catch a ball game? No?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the thing is, they had a good crowd. I don't remember them ever getting good crowds there. And at least for Duke, that every time they'd hit a big shot, they'd make a big play. It was loud. I'm like, oh, good for them. Like, I don't remember that when it comes to Canes home games, at least.
Yeah, no, that was great. So they pound Duke. The final was 81-59. The game was not close right from the outset. The Canes got off to like a 13-1 run to start the ball game. They were making everything, and then kind of seesawed back and forth. They were up 12 at halftime. They come out, they scored the first 7 in the second half, and it was lights out from there. They more or less sustained that 20-point advantage or thereabouts. It got up to maybe 24, might have even hit 26, the lead, and then they ended up winning the ball game, scored a couple of baskets at the end there. It got down to, I think, 17 inside the final minute. But Duke never in it. Wow, that is something that you would not, and I believe Larinaga, does he have a winning record against Duke? Is that possible? He owns Duke, even while Coach K was there. Now, it's John Shire coaching the team. Is Shire, now he played at Duke, right, and was a longtime assistant, obviously handpicked by Coach K. But is he likely to face, and I don't know that this will happen again. I do remember, and I was covering sports in L.A. When Gene Bartow took over for the Wizard. Gene Bartow, who now, did you see Bartow became legendary at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, where he resurrected the program. I think they had been defunct there for a while, and the program came back under Bartow, and they actually did well enough that they called the floor the Bartow floor in whatever arena they play in. Gene Bartow, kind of a conservative guy, not the kind of guy that you thought was going to be an immediate hit, a home run in a star-studded and star-oriented town like Los Angeles. He didn't really have the persona. The Wizard was so well respected that, I mean, if he farted, people thought it was brilliant, which it was. You're eating healthy, Coach. Nice. The Wizard. I mean, he was a wizard, for God's sake.
Yes.
Championship after championship. So how are you going to replace that guy? It's not easy to do. Now, Krzyzewski was accorded a lot of favorable treatment, you would have to say. No, by officials, by people that were making rankings, by seeding committees. I mean, well, whatever they could do to help Duke out, that's what they did. Only Jay Billis. I mean, it's enough to drive the anti-Dukers like us absolutely out of our minds. But how much leeway does this guy get? because Duke is now, I guess, 2 games behind the Hurricanes in both overall and ACC play. So the Canes are now 19-5. So Duke would be what, 17-7?
7, yes. They were 17-6
Yeah.
in the game. So 17-7.
All right. Not exactly stellar stuff. Are they still getting great players?
This class was nuts. This was a class that had like
Filipowski, I mean, is he in that category? I know the professor said that this is the kind of Duke player that really annoys him, Filipowski.
Yeah,
They held him to 9 points last night. I think Duke held him to 9 points more so than the Canes.
Yeah, I think they had 4 of the top 20 kids. I don't know. They had some ridiculous. This recruiting class was supposedly freaking insane, and they have not. And look, I get it; they're young, but they haven't been good. They've been really inconsistent.
Yeah, nothing special. That's for sure.
It's Shire's first year. I get it, so it's going to take him time. But okay, I don't know how much time you get at Duke. Like they don't give you a lot of leeway, especially recruiting the way that they're still recruiting.
In LA, where they're fairly blasé about everything. I mean, the Dodgers were the big team in town. People didn't even really care that much about the Rams. At the time, the Raiders were also playing in Los Angeles. That may have come a little bit after Bartow took over for the Wizard, John Wooden. But I think Gene Bartow might have gone something along the lines of like 26-5 his first year. I mean, it wasn't terrible. That's for sure. And he was crucified by the LA fans and press that this was going to lead ultimately to the total demise of the program. And they may have been right, because they never, how could they possibly ever sustain what the Wizard was doing? I mean, you couldn't possibly dominate the sport like no team is capable of doing that. Even if Nick Saban was a basketball coach, he wouldn't be able to dominate like the Wizard did back in the day. But nonetheless, I mean, they have that Tyus Edney championship they won.
Yes, Jim Herrick.
Jim Herrick. I mean, they've had some good coaches there. They've had some good players there.
Howland, they had a good run with Ben Howland, where they made, I think, like 3 straight Final Fours. Like when UF was really good, and then with Alford, they were okay. But they haven't been able to sustain it like they did in the 60s and 70s.
It was unbelievable, and the demise naturally, goes back to when Gene Bartow took over for John Wooden. But Bartow had a pretty good record and literally was crucified. So the question would be this: does Duke have tolerance for one of their own? Bartow was sort of an unknown commodity.
Yep.
When he took over, it was like, who? What? I mean, where'd they get this guy from? Kind of like the hiring of a Dolphins coach.
I was gonna say.
We're like that. What? Cam Cameron? What the hell? Who came up with that idea? Anyway, the bottom line is Salguero was wrong, and Jim Larrañaga turns out to be a gem. And I probably shouldn't have looked back in anger and thought, but it just happened that the day that I tuned in to see, hey, what are these guys doing? This guy literally was like screaming, and it was something that the management would have encouraged you to do, to just start screaming at the top of your lungs, even if you make yourself look like a complete outrageous fool in the process.
Yeah, it was a big. I remember it was a big deal when they got him. It was within a few years of what he did at George Mason. When we just started, because I remember being at the Derby and he had just been hired, and we got him on with Visser Mama when we were like trackside at the Derby.
Yeah, and
it was a big deal. Like that was like 2010, I think, or 2000.
Seemed like a perfect fit. 61 years old, notwithstanding. Which at this point,
still coaching.
I don't know that I would take exception with saying that 61 is old. But, here he is, sharp as a tack. I mean, he comes on the show. The guy's recall of everything is still very much in place. I don't know if he's gargling with Prevagen or eating jellyfish, for breakfast. But the guy couldn't be any sharper. And certainly, obviously is a tremendously dedicated coach, because that's not easy. I mean, they roll into the ACC. I remember when that move was made, people were also aghast at that, saying, well, why would the Hurricanes want to play football in the ACC, a shitty football conference at the time? And the whole thing was to try and salvage whatever dignity was left for the basketball program. And I guess, obviously, there were some monetary considerations,
obviously,
which we tended not to look at as fans at that time. But we all know what the deal is now. But, I thought when they moved into the ACC, the Hurricanes, that it was strictly to try and enhance whatever they could. The Big East was kind of dissipating, and, but it was still a strong conference. And it seemed like a dumb move. I know it was very awkward for the basketball team to play in the Big East, because we were nowhere near any of these cities, right? Other teams are, taking a cab to, their next game, and the Hurricanes had to fly here and there and stay on the road for 7-8 days at a time to try and play 2 ball games. It was not the easiest of circumstances to operate in, and you figure the ACC with more of a Southern presence would be a more natural fit. But people thought they were going to get buried in the ACC in basketball, and here they are, one of the contenders there. I think what are they tied now with Clemson for the top spot? Clemson was a game ahead of them,
ACC,
and they now have back-to-back wins over Clemson and Duke. Anyway, a lot of fun to watch that ball game last night. It was nice. You didn't have to really schwitz anything. If you were laying the 2.5 with the Hurricanes, you felt pretty comfortable all the way throughout. Balanced scoring, and it's not like any one guy. I know Isaiah Wong is probably the most well-known player, and a guy that Jim Larinaga often points to and says, well, this guy has to succeed for us to be any kind of a factor. But they ended up with well-balanced scoring again, and it knocked off Duke in easy fashion last night. So that was great, and the atmosphere was terrific, too. All right, is this any surprise to you, Lubie? I'm looking at, the trade deadline. We talked about it yesterday with Sean Devaney in the NBA, and the trade deadline is Thursday. And, a lot of people think, and you would have to say it's a fair conclusion, that if the Miami Heat don't pick up any players, don't change anything about their roster, they're probably at best, fourth in the East in terms of being decent.
I don't care, and I love that Andy pointed out something I didn't even know. Cam Thomas is on this great run. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, he's scoring 40 in back-to-back games for the Nets.
The Nets are going to fall off, so he could get into that 4th spot. And again, I also don't trust Harden maintaining whatever the fuck he's done.
Harden might be able to sustain it to the wire in the regular season. No, I mean he's not trying to put up these absolutely monstrous scoring numbers anymore. He's happy with his 16 and 14 assists.
I don't know. We'll see. He's one that I don't trust anymore. But so the Heat being
he looks like he's slowed down significally though.
A lot, and that's what I'm saying. Like at some point, I think
he's not explosive like he was.
But what this team has constituted is really a 4 to 6 seed. But like coming into this year, they were supposed to be in the same conversation with the Bucks and the Celtics. Right now, they're not. Even I have to say that they're not.
They don't appear in a 4 of 7 series like they would be better than Boston, Milwaukee, or Philadelphia.
Even the Sixers.
If you wanted to put them in there 4th.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had to play best of 7 against any of ththose 3 teams, I would favor all 3 of the other teams heavily.
Yep.
And figure that all 3 of those teams would be able to beat the Heat in 5 or 6 games. No.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. And I was one that thought they were as good as any coming into this year. Bam has taken a step. Butler's been good, but Lowry has gotten worse somehow. Hero looked really good for the first
Lowry looks like a shot fighter, doesn't he?
He's done.
He looks like John Bagley at this point.
The fact that he'll play 30 minutes and have 0 points. You can Bimbo Coles would have had 7. It's weird to play that.
How do you unload this guy though? He's in the second year of a 3-year deal, guaranteed at $85 million total, $30 million a year almost, or $28 million and change. He's shooting 39% from the field, 12 points a game, 5.3 assists. Supposedly the Clippers, who not only have a little trading cachet in terms of players that might be of interest or deals that might be of interest to the Heat, but I mean, if you're the Heat, you want to unload Kyle Lowry. I mean, like right now, do you not?
Lowry, Robinson,
cutting him would be an option, I would think, for Pat Riley if he could afford to do that.
You want to get rid of those 3: Robinson, Dedmon, and Lowry. Dedmon now is bitter and doesn't fit.
Can you unload dead weight though? I mean, Shaq was a lot of dead weight when we had him here after a couple of years. Anyway, he was okay for a while.
I don't know how you get rid of those 3 guys and then get back anything worth anything. Like that's the big question. Is you can get rid of them because they all have contracts that'll be done in the next year, but you want to get stuff back. The point for the Heat is to try and make a run here and to get a D'Angelo Russell or a Collins or an Anunoby from the Raptors. Like those teams want stuff. They don't want garbage.
Do we have any draft picks? I don't think we have any draft picks.
You don't have picks. The picks are like the Lakers are like 2027, 2000, and they'll probably be bad at that point. Like you don't want to give up those picks because they could be really good picks. Like you're supposed to.
Would you trade if you were Pat Riley for a pick that's not likely to be, with your team selecting until you're in your grave? where it's so far down the road. I mean, I don't know. I hope Pat has another 20 years left. I'm a big Pat Riley fan. I love the guy. Terrific presence here in the South Florida sports scene. Adds a lot of distinction to it. Always did. Was always terrific to speak with whenever he came on for an interview. Just absolutely spellbinding as a speaker. Pat Riley, you could see why he was getting 50 grand a pop back when 50 grand was a lot of money. Years and years ago, as a motivational speaker, some company. I mean, imagine you roll in Pat Riley and he gives you one of those fire up speeches, then drops like a crate of lobsters on your head and says, "Go get them, guys." It's always the Animal House act that tends to motivate players the most. That's why Dan Campbell maybe had so much success, right?
Oh my God, I've been fighting with people. I didn't realize he's that. I know he's liked in Detroit, but he's beloved. Like I thought it was
there. Yeah, they do.
He's not an X's and O's guy. Like I like even when people praised him, it was never for his X's and O's. It was he's a good guy.
Because he would eat a wild boar at halftime to get his team motivated.
But they believe supposedly Peyton gives him credit for the New Orleans offense. I'm like, you understand? He was with Miami when Peyton started with New Orleans. So that's not even, and he was with Dallas before that. He had nothing to do with Peyton in New Orleans. So that's a weird thing you're saying. Well, hey, look what he's doing in Detroit. I'm like, yes, the crazy man.
I mean, it resurrected Jared Goff. I don't know if he's directly responsible.
I'm like, what is he doing offensively? They're like, what do you mean? He's been running the offense. I'm like, there's no way Dan Campbell is calling the plays for their offense. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I look, you want to love
their offense was good though, very exciting.
No, their offense by the end was really good. But I'm like, what is Dan? I'm like, whatever. But yeah, they love him. Just a sidebar, they love fucking Dan Campbell. I didn't realize the Detroit Lion fan base was so strong. But I've gone last week. I was getting in wars with Detroit Lion fans over Dan Campbell.
I don't want to pull a Salguero after I just reminisced about this completely. Ridiculously bad opinion about Jim Larrañaga and the fact that he was 61 years old when the Canes hired him. But I mean, is there any way that the Heat can unload Kyle Lowry and at the same time improve their ball club? It seems impossible, doesn't it?
That's supposedly
they are kind of stuck, are they not?
I don't know how you. It's just the guys they want, like a Strus. I guess. Look, a Strus has actually turned into be something interesting.
Strus is good. Yeah, I mean, a functional player.
Contract's low. He has a low contract where you don't need to extend him in, I think, till next year, the year after.
Yeah.
So that's a piece that's interesting.
But he has either been starting or been like a key guy off the bench for him all year long.
It's just I don't know if he's enough. Like I don't know how you don't give up a hero. Like how do you not give up something of real value to get the help?
To get what? I mean, to get Kevin Durant. I mean, what do they do?
The Durant stuff's weird because I don't know how you could get a Durant without giving up a Butler. Like the other stuff doesn't matter anymore. Like Hero has not grown like he was supposed to. And
no, Hero after having a real good year last year, where he was the sixth man of the year, he was terrific. And so he's had a promising rookie season. Then he fell off completely because women weaken legs.
Yep.
Then came back last year, was terrific, was sixth man of the year. And this year really is kind of a lost soul, is he not? Tyler Hero, he's had some good games, some good moments, but mostly, nothing special.
The first half, or so I guess the first quarter of the season, the first half of the season, he was really good. And then like the last 6 weeks, he's really gone into a funk offensively, and he's not good otherwise. So that's a problem with a lot of these one-trick ponies, like, is once they're not good at the thing they do, there's nothing to get them going. So that... Yes, the funny thing to me was Lowry was off limits. I'm like, why is Lowry off limits?
Off limits, man. I would trade him for a breakfast sandwich from McDonald's at this point. No?
100%.
Just you're not going anywhere with this guy the way that he's playing. That's for sure. And he's become an impediment to any kind of success the Heat may have. Now look, he was brilliant with Toronto. Very much undersold. I mean, people knew of him, and obviously he had some very exciting ball games and some huge, impactful games, and scored a lot of points. But he was terrific. But I guess he had started to tail off a little bit before the Heat acquired him, and he's one of those guys that got sucker punched by Father Time, I think.
Yep.
Where it happens with fighters, where you see him in one fight and you're saying, wow. Guy won the fight, but there were signs there that it's over. And in the very next fight, it's completely over. The guy's horrible. Can't do anything. And Lowry seems to have hit that kind of a wall. I don't know if he can rebound from that. But if he doesn't, and the Heat don't make any moves, which I don't anticipate, not that I know anything. It's not like I'm Sean Devaney or one of these NBA insiders. I know nothing other than, what you can gather from the various reports that you see and then looking at the situation. I just don't know. I mean, the Clippers supposedly would have some remote interest. They need a point guard desperately. and might have interest in Kyle Lowry, and maybe he can resurrect some of his brilliance from the past if he goes to another team. But you would think, I mean, he's primed for success here. The Heat don't have any size, though. I mean, besides, Bam Adebayo being their big man puts them in a somewhat compromised position, even though size has been de-emphasized. But when he gets in there against some of these other teams, and they have a big front line, the Heat are hard-pressed to keep pace. But still, with a winning record, I know a lot of people are very disappointed in the Miami Heat season this year. They still have a winning record, and it's kind of like Denny Green time, right? The Bears are who we thought they were. The Heat are kind of who we thought they were, and we're unable to sort of internally improve enough. And you had a couple of players that went into decline, like Duncan Robinson. Chris Dedman, for some reason, fell into complete disfavor. He was a contributing member and kind of an interesting pickup by the Heat just a year or two ago, last year. And, it was great because nobody had ever heard of this guy, and he was coming in, he was making contributions and, playing some real solid basketball, but just not happening. I don't know what the Heat are going to do, Lubie. I don't anticipate them doing anything. If they could unload Kyle Lowry, it'd be a stroke of genius. On the part of Pat Riley, no doubt about that.
I think they'll find a way to get rid of Lowry and some of the other dead weight, and they'll bring in like a Crowder. I just don't. I don't think they're able to get like the big name that all the Heat fans want. Like that, I don't think.
And what would that do for him? I mean, if they made,
I think they could be a force, like because right now I think they're more of a 5th, 6th seed. But I think if they can get the undersized power forward, because that's what they need. They need a guy that can take some pressure off of Bam, help rebounding and defense, interior and on the perimeter. Then they'd be at like a true 4th seed. They could be better than the Cavs, and they could beat the Cavs in the first round and then lose in the second round. It's where they probably are this year.
All right, a couple of other things in the NBA. LeBron could be the night tonight. He needs 36 to pass Kareem. Does he do it? I don't know, Louie. 36 is a lot of points to tally in a ball game. If you're going to play the ball game, I know he's done it and exceeded 36 points many times in his career. At 38, he appears to be no different than he did at 28. That's really the incredible thing when you're watching LeBron James play this year. And I know you hate the Lakers, and I don't even like it when I bring them up.
No, but
and it's not like I'm an overwhelming Laker fan, but it's always as Al Bernstein would say, intriguing when you have a team with LeBron James on it that also has Anthony Davis.
Yep.
And I think still a semi-functional Russell Westbrook. While you think that Russell Westbrook is a complete washout. Right. Russell Westbrook, a complete washout. I guess Ron DeSantis just turned off the show. Right. Never mind that. Anyway, LeBron, does he do it tonight? I want to say no, but, and then where does that leave him? Where's their next game, Louie? Do we know?
Bucks. They play because Sarny said that he thinks they're going to do it.
And that's at home? Obviously you would like to do it at home. Supposedly tickets, I don't know. I mean, you always hear these outrageous amounts of money. And in Los Angeles, it might possibly have some foundation in fact. But are people really willing to pay $75,000 for a ticket to tonight's game to see LeBron James surpass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? 75 dimes, supposedly. Okay, tickets are being offered for. Now, that may be, who's the guy, Adler, that's just next to Jack Nicholson? Lou Adler, I believe, a big-time record promoter. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Guy with the white hat and the funny glasses. He's like a tall, white Spike Lee. Lou Adler. Made a fortune, though. I mean, he promoted like every rock album that, what was on a label that he was involved with. Every big rock album in the 70s. So, he may have more money than Nicholson. We always thought those were Jack seats. Maybe they're Adler seats.
Maybe
is that possible? but I would imagine it's a seat like that that's going for 75 times. But I mean, look, unless you could go out there and actually, throw the ball to LeBron for his record-surpassing point, are you going to pay $75,000 for the experience of being at a Laker game? Where do people show up in the middle of the second quarter and leave by the middle of the third? Are you kidding me?
In a way.
What kind of Looney Tune?
I'm too spoiled. I don't like spending anything.
No, I mean, look, when you're in this business, you don't want to ever pay for tickets. The thought of paying for tickets almost makes me a little bit nauseous. Yeah.
Right. The other day, she was like, we haven't been to a concert in a long time. I'm like, yeah, I'm not in radio anymore.
Yeah. That was always nice, right? When I first met the Mustang and she wanted to go see Tom Petty and the show had been sold out for months, but one called to Doc Reno and you're sitting down there in the covered section while everybody else is getting poured on. right? And standing, sitting way out in the grass there at that Cruzon Amphitheater. I don't know what it's called anymore, but it was the Cruzon Amphitheater out there in West Palm Beach. And the schlep out there is forever.
Yep, because it's
how far west? There isn't land that far west to put an arena out there. What, are you kidding me? One of my least favorite places to attend the show at. The Cruzon Amphitheater in West Palm Beach. And LeBron was pissed that they didn't get Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
I mean, does he not see a blessing in disguise when
He's weird.
I would rather be out of the playoffs than play with Kyrie Irving if I was LeBron James at this stage. I mean, what kind of nutbag would Kyrie be? He left of his own volition. He left the side of LeBron James. They could have won championship after championship almost anywhere that they went together.
They had just won a title. They won a title.
And what was the story? I mean, we don't know if this is true.
He wanted to be the dude.
That Kyrie didn't like that LeBron got all the credit there, even though he hit the big 3-point shot over Steph Curry.
Yep.
Curry going to be out indefinitely. Klay Thompson last night, 12 threes.
Jesus.
So I thought Klay was finished. I watched him earlier in the year. He looked like he was way off of his game. But apparently has been rounding back into form. 12 threes in a ball game last night. That's not even the most he's had in a single ball game. He's had 14 3-point shots. That's 42 points on 3-point shots.
That's crazy.
That's pretty amazing. So he was on fire last night. Golden State with a big win. Steph Curry, though, out indefinitely with various, medical problems that are almost too difficult to pronounce. It's not like the, anterior cruciate sprain or anything like that. I mean, he's got ligament damage and ligaments I didn't know existed. and you do have to be partially, medically aware if you're going to do this for a living, because that's all you hear about are injuries. I mean, as soon as you heard about Brock Purdy, you're thinking Tommy John for this kid, right? Because, would I have known what the ulnar collateral ligament related to, 30 years ago when I was taking biology in high school? Or 30 years ago, 60 years ago? No, would have had no idea. But from being a sports guy, you're almost like I probably could do a couple of Dr. James Andrews surgeries just from what I've read. Dr. DeForest, are you ready? Imagine seeing me with a little hat on there, and you're in the operating room just about to pass out from the propofol. Unbelievable. Devin Booker is going to come back soon. Maybe, you know me. I'm not happy if Booker isn't playing for the Phoenix Suns.
What's going on with them? That's been a disaster.
He's been out, I believe, a quad injury. I'm not sure. Some kind of leg impairment that has kept him out for some time. But nonetheless, Booker returns. So the Suns, who, you would have thought, had a legitimate shot to win the title this year going into the season, although I still don't understand what their bitch was with Ayton, who was really good for them last year, and then all of a sudden over the summer, fell into complete disfavor. Ayton, who, again, speaking of, I guess, the Heat have a better of that type of player in Bam Adebayo, but, Ayton on that team was very functional. Chris Paul, though, also got hit with the old stick.
Yep.
Yeah, and no longer is the same player that he was. All right, and they had a media day for the NFL yesterday, which a lot of people make fun of. What's that?
We actually never did that.
No, because we were never there. I mean, we always went on a Tuesday and got cranked up Tuesday afternoon, started broadcasting on a Wednesday when we went to these various radio rows, but they moved that. It's now on a Monday night.
Yeah, because it used to be Tuesday. We'd be there and be like, And then they moved it to Monday, so they're good. We don't even have to even think about it. But I never had an actually interest of doing it. It always seemed
nothing of terrible significance comes out of that. It's a lot of comedy though. You had that Latin reporter with the pasties and a G-string that was always enamored and flirting with Tom Brady. And the people would let that go on, and Brady kind of embraced that a little bit because, he wanted to drive a bigger wedge between himself and Giselle. You were flirting with that girl. But no, I don't know. Nothing of any great significance comes out of it, except, you're happy that all the people showed up. The focal point was on the Kelseys and their mother and, what it's like to have, two sons in the game from opposite sides, unprecedented. And then, of course, the quarterbacks, who, both Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, as much as I like Mahomes, he really doesn't give you much aside from, it's a little better than the totally cliche-driven and absolutely vapid comments of Tom Brady, who now says he's not going to broadcast next year.
Taking a gap year.
Wow.
Why? Okay.
No one will remember who he was by the time we come around to 2024 as an announcer, right? Doesn't he need to get in there right away and start impressing people for $375 million? You think Fox is happy with that move?
No.
And I guess they should be concerned because, in spite of my opinion, Greg Olson draws rave reviews from a lot of people, especially media critic types that say, wow, this guy's just doing a great job. And, while I would agree that if he, did a few things maybe a little bit differently, and not that he has to accommodate my taste, but, just a little too much slubbering on the technical side.
He talks a lot.
Yeah.
He just talks a lot. He does the thing where I guess Romo started, where it's like, okay, there can't be any air.
No dead air, yeah.
But it's TV. It's that. Look, we do that.
Exactly.
I mean, now we're on video, fine, but like we're just used to being on radio. But like you're on TV, they can see stuff, and there's graphics, and there's this, and there's that. Like there's always something. Like you don't have to like fill it with dribble. Like
there's really not any great significance to every play in the National Football League. That's what I find annoying when you have these color analysts that feel compelled to say something and fill all of the time. I mean, all of them do it too, right? Whether it's Herb Street, who a lot of people liked. I mean, he actually, I thought, acquitted himself pretty well. He's not my favorite color analyst, but I mean, considering that he hadn't been around the NFL, I thought he was carrying aging Al Michaels on his back. I mean, and actually was very accommodating to Michaels, who seems to, taking a step backwards. No, Al Michaels.
Oh, I mean, he's 80 something. That's what's weird. Like, look, I am impressed that
you got Hubie Brown, you got Michaels, and John Sterling, all in their 80s doing broadcasting.
Look, and that's fine. It just,
Vin was fine in his 80s. He was great. Vin Scully.
Shirley asked me yesterday, and you and I've talked about this. Sure, my wife asked this. She's like, if we won the lottery, would you quit? I'm like, no. Like, why? I'd be less stressed. You'd probably meet a whole new Lubitz. Like, I'd be like,
well, maybe you do this in a different way. If you had the means to produce feature films and documentaries, maybe that's one of your things you would like to do. And if you had the luxury of having 3 years to work on a project without getting paid, I mean, that would be great, wouldn't it? That's the tough part about getting, ahead in life is that you're stuck doing what you're doing right now. And that occupies so much of your time that you don't really get the opportunity to expand and grow your opportunities and horizons. Right.
So I don't scoff at them for doing this is what they love doing. And
I would do this to my grave. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I get that. It's just when you get in your 80s, it's like there's a grind to a lot of the stuff that like the NBA, there's a lot of games. It's like,
Marv Albert, I guess. Was he almost 80? Or was he in his 80s when he retired? He was still sharp. No, Marv, he still had it. Yes.
Yeah. It's just
unbelievable. Favorable to, a lot of new guys that just come in there and start screaming right away. I'm a lot of these guys are sort of non-distinguishable, whereas, some of the older announcers, you knew right away as soon as the guy said his first words, you know who was doing the game.
Yep.
A lot of these guys that are on the scene today, I mean, they may be very professional, very competent, but nonetheless, I mean, nothing particularly distinguishing about them. Even this Burkhardt guy who's the number one guy with Olsen. Is that his name? Ken Burkhardt, something like that?
Kevin Burkhardt.
Professional, but at the same time, I mean, is he, doing anything so significant? I don't think so.
No.
He's not Iron Eagle. Let's put it that way. Who is great. All right. Brian Flores gets the defensive coordinator job with the Vikings. Was a candidate for the Cardinals head coaching position, but because he took this defensive coordinator job, maybe he realized he wasn't going to get the job. They're down to a couple of candidates, the Arizona Cardinals. Doesn't look like a real promising position to be in, does it? Arizona Cardinals head coach. And they're down to Lou Anarumo, Cincinnati defensive coordinator. Yeah, and Mike Kafka, who was the Giants OC this past year.
Been an OC and a quarterback coach for a long time, but I don't know if he's. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's rough. Anarumo has actually done a really good job with the Bengals and gets no credit and never is paid attention to. So that shows you where the candidates are, that he is front and center because no one's ever paid attention to him. So I don't know why the crop is so weird this year. Like Bieniemy, I think 100% is waiting on the Chiefs because he's
got to be waiting for Andy to eat himself in Oklahoma.
Anyone's that racist because black guys have been in the interview process this time around. You've seen guys get jobs, so it's not a racism thing.
But you really only saw what? I mean, D'Amico Ryan's got a job. Who
Yes.
else? The rest of these guys are like as white as Wonder Bread, no?
I don't know. What? But
Frank Reich got hired.
I mean, I
who
don't
else?
Because Frank Reich was good. I didn't mind Reich getting another job because I thought Reich did a good job with the Colts. That they just couldn't figure out the quarterback position. Like, I don't know. I was it that many jobs open? Like, I'm trying to the Saints.
There were at least 5 jobs, right? Sean Payton went to the Broncos. He's a white guy.
Again, Peyton and Reich are guys that have had experience and done well. And the Saints ended up keeping Allen, and the Chargers ended up keeping the idiot. So, like, that's, I don't think there was a ton, like, there wasn't like 9 jobs like we've seen in the past. Like, I don't think it was. Yeah. And the Texans went with the black.
Arizona's still open, and I'm assuming both of these guys are white guys just based on the name.
Yeah, I think
and Brian Flores. Well, I honestly thought, going back to being dead wrong about things, I thought that Brian Flores would never even get consideration for a head coach again.
Nah.
Still has the lawsuit going. I don't know that whole language is toned down. Now you hear nothing about that. Is anyone going to bring that up when Roger Goodell does his State of the Union address there at the Super Bowl, where everything is rosy, right? Everything is rosy. All right, we have a lot to do here in the program. I did mention this, Jim Sarney. Panthers 7-1 over the Lightning. So I don't know. Does that avenge the embarrassment of what happened last year with the Sweet
From what I'm looking at, it's really confusing, the playoffs. But from what I'm looking at, they're 1 point out of the playoffs. So that's interesting.
I think they're going to roll their way into the postseason. They should be good enough to do that, no?
As we've seen in hockey, being a high seed doesn't guarantee you shit. So maybe having to fight to get in for this different kind of group may be good. I don't know. I mean,
how did this Vasilevsky guy, who's a brilliant goaltender for the Tampa Bay Lightning, give up 7 goals in a game last night? Kachuk had one where he batted it out of midair and put it into the pipes, which was great. I mean, real agility there and hand-eye coordination being shown because, I mean, split-second reaction. Great pair of hands on Matt Kachuk, who now, I don't know if he scored any more after that. I kind of turned the game off after it was 3-1 Panthers. You could see the direction of the game, but he had 26 goals. That was his 26th of the season. So, well, where are they? Approximately what? Are they 60% completed in the regular season? Something along those lines?
53 games, and I guess
okay, so they have 30 left. So they're 5/8 of the way through the season. So what does that equate out to? You're going to have a guy scoring like 40 some odd goals that you traded for. That's good. And add an element of toughness around the net there that they were looking for, that they weren't getting from Hoobie Dooby Doo, who had a terrific season by any standard last year. And obviously, you would think that was a piece you would be reluctant to trade. But maybe it'll pay off. And maybe this Paul Maurice will come through here. Maurice Chevalier, who is, as we say, the French Joe Philbin. Did we cover a lot of ground there? I think we did, Louis, right? We in college basketball, NBA, little NFL.
When we used to do the 4-hour show. We haven't got
NHL.
In a long time.
Right, and we did that without even taking a breath. So that's good. So that's what we're going to do now. Hialeah Park, great place to go. Lenn Robbins is going to join us about 8:30. Our good friend Lenn Robbins now with Bet Basics.
Yes, sir.
But I know Lenn, and I used to always be impressed with this guy when I read his stuff on college basketball and football in the New York Post. And he wasn't being allocated like a ton of space. It wasn't like he got the generous allotment of space. For example, here, this Ian O'Connor who writes basketball for the New York Post, 2 pages of what's next for Kevin Durant today.
Wow.
Rise to the challenge. Durant can solidify a legacy by honoring pact leading Nets. All right. Brooklyn focused on winning with KD. That's the quote from Jacques Vaughn. Jacques Vaughn, who sounds like a hockey coach, but no, has actually done, I think, a very good job.
Yeah, he's done good.
As the interim coach there, took over for Steve Nash. And did they ever name him the permanent coach? I don't know if they did.
Yeah, I think he's been made the.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's done well.
Done a nice job. Yeah, no, and it seems like a very, very likable person in terms of, a coach that isn't so overwhelmingly consumed with himself and his level of authority that he may be much more relatable to players than a lot of other guys otherwise would be. But remember with Kevin Durant, the whole big thing was, what a pussy. He went and went to Golden State. My God, I could go there and win with those guys. And they thought, and then he ended up what? Did he win one championship there or two?
Back to back.
Kevin
I think they
Durant.
went to 3 straight and they won back to back. And the third one they would have won, but he and Clay were both hurt.
Right. Yeah, that was
So they would have won
where
3 in a row.
finally had the Achilles problem.
Yep.
All right. So and look, it was great. Steph Curry. I mean, you have to admire the fact that he capitulated to the fact that Durant was going to be the number one guy on that team, even though Curry is completely capable, as we've seen over the years, of being the number one star on that ball club. And they kind of deferred to Durant and let him be their leader. And I don't have a problem with it. What's wrong with stacking a team, Lubie? If you can do it.
I changed my.
Why would a player think, oh, geez, you know what? I've got to go to a shitty team that can't win to preserve my legacy, that I am the number one guy? I mean, well, why not go line up with the guys at the park that are going to keep the court all night, no?
I mean, plenty of players have done it. Like, it's not new. They're acting like it's new, but it's not. Whether it's draft.
People crucified Durant for that move, remember?
They did.
They couldn't accept it. And, as he was winning championships, they were fighting with him on Twitter, and he was having to go back and trade insults with people that never picked up a basketball in their lives. And, it was a move that was roundly criticized. And then, on top of that, he goes to Brooklyn, and people are thinking, okay, so he's going to put them on the map. And then we're highly critical of the fact that he ended up with Harden and Kyrie Irving as, guys that were going to help him win this championship, which who knows? I mean, if Kyrie Irving had that's a giant if, huh?
That's a problem.
That is the big I. The sports eye chart has a big I and a big F right next to it. If Kyrie Irving was halfway normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about the magnitude of that statement.
Just under control.
Yeah.
No, it's normal.
Imagine being this guy's therapist. Well, what do you do? Just on your cell phone the whole time?
Probably just listen. Yeah, you're probably
filing your nails. Yeah, Kyrie, that's interesting.
you're just
the moon is out, and is the one, lighting source that we have in the daytime. Huh? Okay, good. What else you got? How was the game last night? All right, Lenn Robbins is going to join us, and we'll talk about many things. Of course, well-versed in the NBA, the NFL, and virtually all sports. And it's not just New York sports, so we'll, spread it out all over the place with Lenn from Bet Basics. Hialeah Park, speaking of betting, wow. I mean, great place to go. Jackpots galore. Is that his middle name, Steve Calabro? Jackpots? Steve Jackpots Calabro.
Every time I've been there, it's just loud because people are winning all over the place. It's crazy.
Man. And I can't wait to get down there. It's been a while. I can't wait to get down there for the boxing on February 24th. That is a must. Frankie, if you're watching, please circle that day on the calendar, which I'm sure he has. And, if we can glom tickets right now for the ringside seats that he always accommodates us with, yes, you'll be right over there, Mr. DeForest. How great is that? Right? I mean, it's like going, with Denzel Washington, to the fights, to the Ali Frazier fight at Madison Square Garden in American Gangster, where, the Josh Brolin is how did that guy get better seats than we have for the fight when we were paying bribes to virtually everybody? Amazing, right? So it's great. We get down there ringside. I'm going to see Guillermo Rigondeaux. He is a top flight fighter, and there's a Cuban flavor to this whole thing, and you would imagine that's going to be very appealing. I love the Latin boxing fans, right? Latin fans in general are much more passionate, right? Look at that World Baseball Classic. You ever seen anything like that? You'll never witness that at Marlins Park or Lone Depot Park. Ever a crowd like that at a Marlins game, even if the Marlins were in Game 7 of the World Series. It wouldn't be as magnificent as it was, much like it was at the University of Miami last night. Just a wild celebration, right? You want to go out, you want to party, you want to have a good time, right? Suck down a couple of beers there and yell and cheer for your team. And that's what you get to do, man. I mean, these Latin guys really embrace that. And they'll tell their guys if they're not performing, too. I mean, it's not like they're so biased that all of the Cuban fighters that get in there, naturally are going to be favored and favorites of the crowd. But if they're not doing their thing, man, don't let them know right away by round 2. Ooh. Sigalo. And then you get that weird. See, they don't do that. That must be a Mexican thing. Yeah, the derisive Mexican whistle or Latin whistle.
It's not Cuban. Yeah, I've never heard that before either.
Oh, man. It's like you're a clown. I mean, and you would get that at the Olympic all the time. If the action even slowed down for maybe a minute, here you are in round 4, and they're just kind of, dancing around, fainting. And then all of a sudden, you'll hear the whole crowd start going in unison. And you're like, wow. And it got to the fighters. It was one of those things that got under their skin. They would immediately start mixing it up. So they'll let you know. It's going to be a great night. I mean, it's just a perfect atmosphere. Look, you don't have 1,000% control over the weather, but, if you have to figure in the wintertime, it's going to be nice out there. And, wow, you get a beautiful evening out there for the outdoor fights. With the canopy covering the ring, and then any kind of seat is good because the gradual elevation of the stands. So you don't have to worry about like Haas Cartwright sits down in front of you with a 10-gallon hat on, and you're thinking, "Hey Haas, could you take the hat off at least? You fat piece of." That was always my luck, right? Horse Cartwright syndrome, we would call it. Some guy with a cowboy hat sitting in front of you, and he insists on wearing it as if it was a yarmulke and he was a rabbi on the highest of holy days, right? All of a sudden, it's Yom Kippur all over again. Anyway, a great place to go. You'll love it. February 24th. Get your tickets online, HialeahPark.com. I would always make a habit of checking the website or their Facebook page for all the different things that are happening, the promotions. The rewards program there at Hialeah Park is unparalleled in the gaming industry. They really know what they're doing there, man. That's a good thing. That is a well-run operation. Always has been. I know a lot of people thought that they were radicals and stuff back in the day when they were always having to fight off the overwhelming power that was being pressed upon them by Gulfstream Park and the legislature and all of these different elements that they had to combat. John Brunetti Sr., man, I mean, one of the icons of sport down here, kept to it and kept the place going. A lot of people thought it would be apartment houses by now. Beautiful, beautiful place. You're going to love it. And what they've done with the casino is fantastic. Get a player's card when you walk through the door. You're going to take advantage of a lot of good things that happen. And go in and play, man. Vegas-style slots all over the place. Those Royal Reels, I don't really understand the whole Royal Reel thing. Do you? I don't know what you need to get to win. Like, do you need, kings and queens? I mean, what is it? I'm not sure. But I'll tell you what, man. A lot of people have lined up the right configuration there. And, you see Steve Calabro handing out like giant checks for like 150 grand, things like that. Giant jackpots being won all the time at Hialeah Park. And the average guy can go in there. I mean, you want to sustain it for a while. Even if you end up tearing up $20 or 40 in a slot machine, at least if you sat there for a while and you had a chance, maybe you were up a little bit, and you need the machines to be calibrated so you have a shot to win. And that's what it's all about there. Poker Room is great. Simulcasting, unparalleled also in terms of the accommodations and the amenities that are there for the horse player. You're going to love it. Champion Simulcasting Room. It's all right there. And February 24th, boxing at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more. Lenn Robbins is going to join us in about 15 minutes here on the program. Stick around. Always enjoy your comments on the chat line. That's fantastic. What are we missing? Sarni been dropping in women's, field hockey or anything that we didn't cover here?
Had nothing negative to say. It was just exalting the victories of the Canes and the Cats, meaning we've actually done a good job, and I think he's totally confused.
Yeah.
He has nothing negative to say. It's a new thing.
He's 61 years old, and that still rings in my ears. I mean, I'm sorry, Armando. I came to respect, obviously had respect for his golf and stuff.
A lot of people who didn't know what the hell they were talking about just saw his age. They didn't realize like he had just taken a team like within, I think it was like 5 years.
Yeah.
Within 5 years to the Final Four with a 6'4" center. And they had one like Mason, I think, did some stuff after that. Like they were consistent, and him coming to Miami was a huge deal. Like a lot of people down here, because they don't know college basketball, were like 61. Who gives a shit? Like, look how old, like, guys, college basketball coach to like 90.
You really do, man. I mean, they're like being wheeled in a coffin.
Like Dean Smith was old as hell.
Was Dean? I don't know. I mean,
he wasn't like 50.
Yeah.
They coach.
Hey, look, Rick Pitino's got to be in his 70s? Rick Pitino, is that possible? I mean, yes. He looks like he's 40.
Yep.
And obviously razor sharp. So, Jim Larinaga, great job last night. All right, coming back, Lenn Robbins is going to be with us here from Bet Basics, and, of course, a longtime columnist for the New York Post, and did a great job covering all kinds of different stuff. That's straight ahead. And, wow, I don't know, Lubie, have you come to any more significant conclusion? I envision myself, I forget who I was talking to last night about this, but, I want to be the guy that's in that Harris Super Bowl party. I'll be the one guy that has the Chiefs, I think.
You have to.
Because I mean, you could not have obviously proximity to Philadelphia. It's an hour away. And while in Atlantic City, a couple of times I have ventured, just rented a car and gone to Philadelphia just to see what was going on there, just to get out of there and break it up a little bit because it's 32 degrees and you're on the boardwalk. You see some chubby seagull and you're thinking, well, this is fun. Right? Frostbite setting in there. I mean, you feel like you're in the movie Alive there. You're ready to eat like the person's flesh that is next to you. So, I venture off to Philadelphia thinking, hey, I'll see the sights there, which, never really overwhelmed me. I went to that Museum of Art where the Rocky statue is.
Okay.
But I'm not, good in art museums, Lubie. I don't know about you. You look around like, yeah, it's nice.
I just never understand. Like if it's a pretty picture, okay. It's when they get into the weirdo shit that I'm like, okay.
Never forget on a field trip, and this was pretty good. New York Public Schools, I actually gave you a very, at the time, I don't know, they may suck now, but when I was going to PS20 in Brooklyn, New York, I mean, I would have to say that their education was pretty well advanced, very surprising. Even over, as we've mentioned here, the highest taxed county perhaps in America, which should be having nothing but schools that excel. And that's Nassau County on Long Island. And I remember I moved out to Long Island. My family did when I was in the 5th grade. And we were like massively ahead of these people in terms of, a lot of different stuff, math, English and all kinds of different topics. But they used to take us on field trips. So we'd go to the Museum of Modern Art. And I will never forget stopping. And the thing was called Homage to the Square, Lubie. This is long before Art Basel started putting like fluke stuff out there, like a banana taped to a canvas. And some asshole would buy it for like 400 grand, then eat the banana. And you're like, holy Christo. I mean, is this what it's come to? But Homage to the Square was a blank canvas, just hanging on the wall of the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Homage to the fucking square.
I love it. If you can name it the right thing, you can put anything.
I remember this from like being in the 4th grade. I swear to God, we're on a field trip there, and I'm looking at this, going, I mean, am I missing something here? Holy Stevie Wonder, there's nothing on this canvas. Nothing.
That's my problem. I'm too realistic. I look at it and I'm like, yes.
And it's hanging in the Museum of Modern Art, for God's sake.
A fucking Louvre.
Isn't some guy selling canvases, with a, learn how to paint kit outside the place there, who also has a pretzel stand. This was, some piece of work up there. Like, it was a classic piece of art.
Then
just a joke, man.
Talking to the wrong person.
Why can't we cash in on something like that? Maybe some people would say if we ever make money with this show, that would be the
that would be
parallel to Homage to the Square. All right, we're going to talk to Lenn. That's always fun, man. Lenn's a hoot, and that's coming up in just a few minutes here on the show. Don't forget about Hialeah Park. Great place to go. And we're going to come back with more here. Mike Mayo, today we're going to be on the road. Now, I passed this place yesterday.
Okay.
I didn't realize it because he called it something, and it was like the Rabbit Hole or something like that. What is the name of this joint?
He's calling it the Rabbit Hole. Is that?
Oh, it is the Rabbit Hole. Okay.
That's what he's
because the sign on the restaurant just says vegan.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
And I know it's a vegan restaurant, so I mean it has to be the only one in the area there, and it's right around the corner from the house. So I'm looking very much forward to that. Nice. And and I do like that kind of stuff. I mean, I would be interested in eating a vegan menu if I could stick to it. No.
No. Well, remember, vegans no milk too, and that's my.
Oh yeah, no, that would be rough.
The cheeses. Maybe you like. I haven't yet to find a weirdo cheese, and I'm like, oh.
What about coffee, man? They got coffee on there, but you can't put any cream in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no milk. Well, they do the nut. People love these nut milks.
How about some variety of vegan/vegetarian, but you can also eat some chicken and fish? What is that?
Regular restaurant.
Maybe have a piece of steak once in a while. Everything in moderation, Mayo. Everything in moderation. That's a direct message to our good friend Mike Mayo. Now, do we suggest that he do more of this? With the vegan thing?
It's fine. Look, I'm curious to see what it is. I keep an open mind, so I'm curious to see what.
Oh, I would think you would have a chance to have some really tasty stuff there. I know a friend of ours made what was it? I mean, she made some kind of sauce using like cashew nuts and it was absolutely delicious. I mean, it was a spicy thing. It was like a simulation of something else, like meatloaf, only with cashew nuts. It was fantastic.
Okay.
So I have great respect for that sort of thing, and so it'll be fun today. That's coming up later on today. That's on Atlantic Boulevard here in Pompano Beach, and it's on the north side. The Rabbit Hole, actually, the sign above the restaurant just says vegan. Okay. So that, and oh, by the way, I mean, real shitty. I guess we should run this by the owner, although I don't know if it's going to impact his business. But they just made a pay parking lot all the way around.
Yes. Oh, have you seen that? Isn't it annoying?
I haven't parked there. You know, they used to have some spaces with meters, but there were plenty of free spots that were more, than in the proximity of where you would want to park. But now it's pay all the way around. And I would think it's really annoying for like pizza places and things like that. There are a couple of Italian restaurants in there, a lot of different places in that little strip.
Foundry. I go there every Tuesday for the trivia for
Vegas. You don't have to pay at the Foundry parking lot, too?
You have to pay. The whole lot now is pay. Out of nowhere. There was no signs. There was no warnings.
Oh, man.
And out of nowhere. And it's been years that lot's been there.
Now, is it meters or is it one of those central places?
Pay by, you can pay. There's a meters, and then you can also pay by plate as well.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. And it's expensive as hell. It's not like, it's like $3 an hour.
$3 an hour? Wow. That's.
Yeah, it's a joke.
There's another $3 invested in that show, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox.
Well, I'm there for 2 hours, so it's like $6 invested in the show. It's just annoying. Like
$6, we're gonna have to pay to park there today. Wow,
it's annoying.
Maybe we can write that off.
Oh, you can.
No, but where it's annoying, I don't mind. I mean, if we're gonna be someplace for a while and you're gonna pay $5 to park, so be it. I mean, I understand that the city's gonna make its money and do whatever they're going to do with it. But if you're just going in to get like a slice of pizza at say Heavenly Pizza, which is also in that little strip mall there, and was always a very popular place, in spite of the fact Mike had a negative experience there, which actually, his negativity about that, I think, was more than justified.
Right.
Because the owner was way out of bounds in telling him he couldn't wear a mask in the store in the height of COVID-19. I mean, they're literally like taking people out of there in body bags, and the guy's telling him to take the mask off as if he was Ron DeSantis plus. But I mean, if you're just going in to a place, do you really want to pay like $1 to park to go get a slice of pizza?
Oh,
or you're stopping in to drop something off, and they got like a little postal center there where you might make a couple of, you got some documents you need to copy, or you need to send something registered mail, and instead of going to the post office, you go there and you got to pay like $3 to park.
Look, downtown, I get it. By the beach, I get it. This isn't either. You still have to go over the fucking bridge to then get near the beach. And it's existed for years without it. Like, I'm sorry, they make plenty of money in that area. That was a douche move. And
do you pull a move on like a Lubie move and park in the Publix parking lot and then walk like a couple of blocks?
I don't know.
Just to avoid the fee.
I don't think enough. I don't know the area enough. I'm so.
It's a nuisance. I would imagine it's an impediment. I know this happened with our good friend Gail Kappas.
Yeah, the restaurants were happy.
At Las Panas, and they moved locations on that Sea Grape location, our original location. Now, there was no place to park at Sea Grape, but there were a couple of spaces, and you would find a way to maneuver your way into some kind of a situation where you could go in and get your Las Panas hoagies. But now you have to pay a meter just to roll in there, even if you've already pre-ordered and the thing is ready. I mean, if you're going to stop there, because there's always a person waiting there. I mean, I don't know how they fund. That's got to be the easiest job to get is meter maid or whatever, parking regulator, because they're there always. I mean, the minute like that Lauderdale by the Sea thing when I was at the Even Keel, we were there an hour, man, and the guy is writing me up for having like the slightest sliver of a tire in the white on the lines there. Well, you could be impeding somebody else from parking.
That's a load of garbage.
What a joke, man. The judge was about as fair and minded as when you used to get the tickets outside of south of the border, for speeding. And, they would say, well, a judge is available right now. And, the guy would say, hey, it's $200. And either that or we impound your car and take you out to jail. What are you going to do, Jew boy? Right? That's what they would say. Coming down from with your New York plates.
Dude,
Jew boy. That was always a negative sign when they refer to you as Jew boy.
Saying Jew boy, that's not good.
Yeah. In the deep south.
DeSantis?
Oh my God! He hasn't even has he begun to attack the Jews yet, DeSantis? Wait till he gets after us.
I mean, not
unbelievable.
The Holocaust is, if you want to call it indirectly,
It is the most insane thing. It's every day with this cat. I mean, every day something else. I went to the point of it's so absurd that you would think even the people that really love this guy, 60% of the people voted for him. Now, they ran a very weak opponent against DeSantis there, and Charlie Crist. Nobody gave a crap about Charlie Crist. He ran a very poor campaign, very understated campaign. I mean, and was not really a lively figure.
No, he didn't.
You have to overcome a lot here if you're going to run as a Democrat, especially against a right-wing flaming, maniac like Ron DeSantis has become. He's out trumping Trump. I would prefer Trump as a presidential candidate to Ron DeSantis. I really would. DeSantis has become flat out scary.
Yeah, Trump just did whatever he had to do to make people happy. This guy,
at least you knew he was a lying
fascist.
Yeah,
he's a true fascist. Like he wants to just be a dictator. It's fucking weird.
He's so serious about all this stuff that would be mostly irrelevant. Like nobody would think that these were the highest priorities, that the state of Florida has to deal with.
There only a small group believes it because they've told them. Because I don't know anyone in my daily life that's ever worried about any of this shit on a daily.
But worries about college curriculums. I mean, what governor is sitting there trying to dictate what colleges offer as curriculums? I mean, they offer all kinds of crazy stuff. All right, we're going to come back with more. Lenn Robbins is going to join us here in just a couple of minutes. I'm Jeff DeForest, of course. That is Mike Lubitz, who everybody knows by voice alone, right? That's pretty cool. You walk into fancy restaurants now, and they say, "You're Lubie." It's great.
I never know.
And we're still a few days off. I began to ask you this just before we finally hit this break here after an hour and a half, but. Have you cemented your opinion at all about the Super Bowl?
I said it yesterday. I know we wait to the end of the week, but
you like the Chiefs, right?
I'm leaning that way. I think Mahomes, the legacy thing is a big deal. Again,
this is a guess. Also, I'm just going to guess somehow, and I don't really believe it, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Yeah, why not? Well, look, Valerio, and it's our podcast right now on the Believe Network, and he was really good. So
that guy was very thorough. He was good. Yeah,
did air here as well, but I don't know if people lingered till 9:30, but. He is out of Philadelphia, but has ties to the Chiefs. And he talked about the receivers. Now, the fact that Hardman's not going to play bothers me, but it feels like Tony will. And he said Smith-Schuster will. That right there is night and day compared to what they had in the second half against the Bengals. So
who was the other guy? Warren Schmenk.
Oh, Valdez Scantling.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, what's wrong with him? I would rely on him.
Oh, no, they'll use him a lot, but he's usually the third or fourth guy. Like, that's how banged up they were, is he was their only dude by the end of that game. So if those guys are healthy, that changes everything for me. And that's why I really felt the Chiefs. Like, this is big for Mahomes. It's everything for Hurts, but Mahomes is in that conversation of getting into that greatest ever. Well, one Super Bowl is not enough. If you can go and get that second Super Bowl, that puts you in a whole different light.
I mean, look, a game looms as somewhat of a toss-up. I don't know that you can be convinced. Most of the people I've talked to that have a strong opinion about the game like Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And the rest, I mean, the people that favor Kansas City are kind of like me, where they're going, you know what the hell, take a shot with Kansas City because everybody loves Philadelphia in this game. Look, Kansas City's capable of putting a lot of pressure on Philadelphia's defense also that you weren't going to get from Daniel Jones and the New York Giants, and you certainly weren't going to get from Colin Kaepernick, who came in to quarterback the San Francisco 49ers in that game. So it isn't like, I mean, naturally they created a lot of these problems for the other team, but the Giants offense and San Francisco's with Purdy out of the lineup look nothing like what they're going to see when they go against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Exactly.
Who have an electrifying offense and have major, powerful forces like Travis Kelce to help power them. I mean, the other key will be, I mean, if the Chiefs can somehow get a little bit of an advantage here, and then maybe Jalen Hurts isn't 1,000%.
Yep.
Then maybe slight edge to the Chiefs. But I'm going to get hit in the face with a cheesesteak, I think, at this party at Harris. I'm just wondering when the flowers will actually be in the punch for these Eagles fans, and how great will it be? Because now I have to go with a 3-thing parlay.
Okay.
Tails on the coin toss.
Mm-hmm.
I'm inclined to go over on the anthem always because the anthem seems like something that you would linger on. This Chris Stapleton is a bit of a mystery to me, and I think we need to do more research on that.
Is there a line? Is there like a number?
There's going to be. I mean, it's usually 2 minutes, isn't it?
I haven't seen anything.
Is that the standard? I mean, heads or tails is self-explanatory. It can only be one or the other. Is it like 159? What is it? Or is it less than that? Length of the anthem. We could time it up, but we want to get to Lenn Robbins. So if I did it as a rap song, say, can you see? The song itself is short, isn't it? And did you realize that Francis Scott Key had a collaborator on that song? He didn't write it himself. It was like
I've never heard that.
It's like George Gershwin also did something with this thing. I don't know. There was somebody else that was involved in writing this thing. What wasn't he supposedly on a boat by himself, ready to drown while under fire from the Brits? Oh my God! I mean, these stories. Maybe DeSantis is right. They have to stop teaching pure fantasy in the schools. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that'd
be fine with me. That's the problem. That's what he wants is more fantasy.
Now he's attacking some place in Orlando, some theater, because they had that, whatchamacallit show, or cross-dressing, or whatever that is.
Drag queen, yeah. No,
drag queen,
you're a drag queen, you lose any funding, you're not allowed to be a business ever. It's been around forever. Like that's not...
You're going to hear these whistles when he gets inaugurated again as president.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, it's 8:32.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, There is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Land Lovers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landloversbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landloversbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Tonight, Brooklyn is up by 2. Elohenu Melech Halad. Shival Vitzivanu, whatever. I mean, what was the guy talking about a horse for? Welcome back to the show. Till Volkswagen Degenerate Friday with Trackside Gulfstream Park. Great to be with you, and a pleasure to bring you once again from the New York Extra, one of our favorite degenerate brethren, the great Lenn Robbins joins us here on the show. Lenn, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Based on that prayer, I hope you've never performed a bris.
Yeah, not a good time to, have a little bit of a shaky grip.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. The author of That Response, of course, joins us right now. Well, always great to have this gentleman on the program. And, wow, I mean, there couldn't be more things happening in the world of sport, especially circulating around the city of New York from where he hails. A longtime columnist with the New York Post, now with Bet Basics, and always a favorite of ours here on the show. We welcome Lenn Robbins to the program. Lenn, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? You know why I'm doing well?
Why is that?
Why now?
I've adopted a new stance in life, and
Okay.
here's how it goes. It's a new life philosophy, if you will, okay? You know how there are people out there who really, have a lot of faith and, they believe in a higher power
Yes.
or whatever, and they have these "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets.
100%.
Yes.
Yep.
So I have an HWSL bracelet that I wear every day. It's "How Would Santos Lie?"
This cat's great, isn't he? I mean, when he led the Jets to that Super Bowl III victory and stuck the two fingers in the air on his way into the locker room wearing number 12, which he now says Aaron Rodgers can have it if he comes to the Jets.
Yeah. So basically, anytime that I'm asked any question in any facet of my life, the first thing I think to myself is,
Yes.
"How would Santos lie?" And it's made everything so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, he's Trump on steroids when it comes to this
He's
sort of
smart,
thing.
that guy.
Yeah, he's great. All
You-
right,
you guys
Lenn,
see
what's
me-
happening? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Did you see me at the Grammys accepting my trophy?
Album of the year, man. That was fantastic. And to beat out that Harry Styles cat, that was impressive, Lenn Robbins.
Thank you. You probably want to talk some sports though or something.
I guess.
No, I mean we're fine talking about anything here. We just been actually we've been rambling for about an hour and a half about a variety of things. One of the things that came up, and this is right in your wheelhouse here, because you were brilliant always in the New York Post. I first fell in love with your work when you were covering college basketball, which we don't get a lot of college basketball input here in South Florida. It's not a big deal, in spite of the fact that Jim Larinaga has done a wonderful job. And is a tremendous guy. I mean, he's also one of our favorites, like you are, to have here on the program. Always fascinating. But when I was thinking about this, I remember I was a young pup working for a small, insignificant newspaper in Ontario, California. And I was writing a story about Gene Bartow taking over for the Wizard in Los Angeles at UCLA following the Wizards' great run and dynastic performance. And I think the guy went like 25-4 or something like that. I don't know. He had a huge winning record, but lost 5 or 6 games that first year. And the guy was crucified. And I'm just wondering, because, I mean, there's no more pleasurable circumstance for people here in South Florida than to see Duke get hammered. I guess that's true, in many circles around the country. And they get hammered last night. I'm looking at John Shire. How much of a leash does John Shire have? What with the Dukies? I mean, Bartow was a somewhat unknown entity to the UCLA fans. I mean, it was kind of a bizarre hire. It was kind of like a Dolphin coaching hire, where you ask yourself, "Oh, who the hell is that guy? Where did he come from?" But does John Shire have a long leash with Duke if they don't produce the kind of results that they got from Krzyzewski?
Well, first of all, again, I want to stay true to my new mantra. Santos will be releasing a statement today saying that he's already been contacted by Duke.
Well, he turned the job down before they gave it to Shire, I guess. Yeah,
right.
He was Coach K's original choice.
John deserves a good amount of time. I mean, look,
okay.
They're still recruiting at an elite level, right? And how do you replace legends, right? It's almost impossible, right? The Bartow story is a really good one, right? What did he do? He won. He just wasn't a guy named Wooden. Well, nobody was ever going to be Wooden again. Not even Krzyzewski was Wooden. So, John's a good guy. He's paid his dues. He's the right guy at the right time. And let's remember something also about, these narratives. What if Duke goes on some sort of a March roll and, winds up in the Elite Eight? All of a sudden, everything's right in the world.
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe so. I don't know that they're screaming. It seems like this guy's getting, fairly favorable treatment. Maybe, at least, a pass for most of this year. But how well did you know Jim Larinaga? Of course, he has New York roots and is just, unfortunately, only slightly older than I am. But he, certainly goes back. I mean, and he references these New York roots with great fondness.
Great applause.
How well do you know him, and what do you make of what he's doing here in Miami? Because according to Jim Boeheim, I mean, he bought himself a team, which we find a little bit unfathomable because it's not like he has like a bunch of superstars on this team.
McDonald's All-Americans.
Right. Well, I used to know Jimmy really, really well. And, I'm kind of sad and, put the only group that was
we lost you there. I don't know. Did you roll into a men's room there in the subway station? What happened, Len?
No. Santos was calling. He wants to. So,
hang up on him.
When I was working for the Brooklyn Nets, he was still, kind of getting his feet wet in Miami, and we were practicing at Miami at the arena there. And the bus pulls in. Jimmy didn't know that I had left the post and had taken a position, with the Nets.
Right.
So he's just waiting there to welcome the team and, hey, anything you guys need. And I get off the bus and he goes, look at this. A couple in New York is doing the snowbird thing.
Good guy, yeah.
He's one of those. Yeah, he's one of those guys, kind of broke the mold, right? But man, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled at all by that kind of happy-go-lucky. I'm the great uncle, grandfather, whatever. This guy's a competitor. He knows his basketball, and I think most importantly, at a place like Miami, he lets his guys play. And man, does he have some guys who can play?
Yep.
So I think they're one of those teams that, I mean, look at the way they play, right? That's a physical, hard knocks kind of team.
Yep.
That's who Larinaga is deep down inside.
Yeah, and you would think, you were going to get more of a Pete Carrill type of game out of an older coach like that. We'd be waiting for, somebody to come off a backdoor pick. And, they run. I mean, they press the pace. And they're not afraid to hoist them either, like you said. I mean, it's very impressive because it does look like they, A, are very much in sync, and B, but without having one guy, I guess Isaiah Wong was very popular in the metropolitan New York area there and was, highly touted coming out of New Jersey high school. But, even he doesn't necessarily have to carry the team. So very, very impressive. And the ACC, obviously, is pretty much wide open this year in college basketball.
The ACC is wide open. The tournament's wide open. The Big Ten is down. The Big 12 is up. You were just talking about how much rope does, Shire get there. I mean, look at what's happening at Villanova, right? You just don't replace guys like, Krzyzewski, like Jay Wright, who right now Jay Wright is saying, oh, Lenny, man, I can't believe you put me in the same breath with Krzyzewski. I hate that, legend kind of stuff. But, hey, I'm not the one who won multiple national championships and turned a small, Catholic school on the main line into a national power. That's your doing. So, if you feel you've got the right guy, then you don't just pull the plug after, the first season that doesn't work or even two seasons in. unless you see that, the players are disengaged. And the players in both programs are far from disengaged.
What do you make of Jimmy B's comments? The Pittsburgh bought a team. He singled out a couple of schools there, which, I know he's 80 years old there, and, maybe he's starting to see bugs when he wakes up in the morning. But, he named a couple of teams and said they bought teams. Now neither of these teams is up there in the top 10. Pittsburgh, I guess, is doing all right. And we know Miami's having a good season, but they're, ranked, number 20-something. So if they're buying teams, you would have to assume that the teams that are on top are, spending even more money in this direction. What do you make, Lenn Robbins, having been a long time, advocate for college basketball and brilliant in your coverage? What do you make of the state of the game today?
The state of the game today? Well,
yeah.
Look, Jimmy apologized for, lumping a couple of the programs that he did in with that statement, right? But what he said is absolutely true. I mean, outside of FIFA, there's been no more dysfunctional and, to me, like, corrupt organization than the NCAA.
That's good.
This is like, letting the inmates oversee the prison guards, right?
Yes.
It's just insane, right? So, what did they do? They knew for years that the Supreme Court was going to come down on the side of NIL. They knew it, right? And they knew the transfer portal was coming, and they were totally unprepared to deal with either one of those issues, right? So, if you're a guy who's been in the game, and let's remember something, right? Jimmy B's roots are in the Big East, which was basically urban, parochial schools where you got tough kids and you got into brick fights, rock fights every night. Terms of the way you play the game, right?
Yeah.
So to him, the whole concept of, we're not going to build a team, we're not going to develop a team, we're going to go to the portal, or we're going to introduce an NIL deal. It's like telling a great artist that some guy named Pollock's going to come around and just throw paint at a canvas and it's going to be great, right?
Homage to the square. It hangs in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and it's a blank canvas. I remember staring at it in the 4th grade and wondering how the hell some guy got away with this.
Yeah. It's like, what's that children's book, The Dot, where a kid just puts a dot on a piece of paper and the art teacher, like, hangs it up in the room because people were making fun of the kids' artistry? The only reason I know that book, I don't know any children's book because I had a horrible childhood, was because, when I was in, like, 8th grade at Billingsley Junior High School, my art teacher told me that I could continue to take the class and I would fail because I was that bad of an artist, or I could come up with some, like, independent study, which basically meant playing with my pencil pinky in the corner, right? And I could get a B, right?
Yeah, I think Hernandez had that same course at the University of Florida. Aaron Hernandez. So he ended up getting enough credits to qualify to play for the team. All right. So, I mean, this is something we have to live with. It's a mess. I think that also was accelerated by the fact that the NCAA tried to hang on. I mean, we've discussed this on the show, Len, for way too long. I mean, they could have capitulated to whatever the, suggestions were of, paying a guy, guys $300 a month or something. And maybe none of this would have escalated to this point. I would also throw the World Boxing Council in there with FIFA and the NCAA as my favorite corrupt organizations in all of sport.
Right,
all right, let's transition. Go ahead, Lynn. Yeah.
Maybe people come out and said we're legit.
They know they're
wrestling
not.
guys have never come out and said we're legit. Like, it's a farce in the show, right?
What are the odds? We facetiously suggested this, but what are the odds you see Aaron Rodgers in a Jets uniform next year? In your opinion?
I think they're pretty good. I mean, look, I think the cord is clearly cut in Green Bay, right?
Yes, doesn't look good there.
The thing that's fascinating to me about the Aaron Rodgers thing is I don't know of many superstars who've been able to continue to play at an elite level, but who went from being like one of the more admired players at their position ever, and now I don't know anybody who likes him. I mean, he's just
Well,
like
he's lost
a
his mind.
royal pain in the ass, right? He's the
Seems like a
smartest
goofball.
guy in
Yes.
every room. He secretly wants to retire and just host Jeopardy.
Yes.
He wants to be Cameron Poe in, the remake, Con Air 2. I mean, it's just like,
He has the look, yeah, or he's capable of it.
yeah, please. Well,
Well,
I don't know. I think he's going to hire Santos as his PR guy.
Huckabee Sanders, I guess, would work too there. I mean, she was great. Remember that? She would just undress the reporters. Lou, your paper's going under. Why would I answer your question? That would have applied to a lot of people, I guess, that were in the press room there asking questions about the old Trumpster. All right. If you look at it, though, I mean, if he does go to the Jets, I mean, does that make them contenders? You would think you could plug him in there. That where they like decent quarterback play away from being a very good team last year.
Yeah.
Well, look, that defense is a monster defense. I mean, it really is. They can flat out win games for you with that defense. Then you look at like the offensive side of the ball. If they get another offensive lineman in this draft, and I think they probably will go that way. They've got great young receivers now. They've got a great young running back. If Breece Hall comes back from the ACL, they've got everything in place right now, and they got a coach who they love playing for. So yeah, you put all that together. There's no reason why not. And unlike the Miami Dolphins, they haven't had to forfeit any of their first round draft picks. So you got that going for you.
Yeah. Well, and look, and just to switch gears a little bit, as the trade deadlines this Thursday, we were talking about a guy that was revered at one point that is now sort of lost his marbles. You covered a guy who now goes from the Northeast to the South, I guess, West, where he's probably more home with his belief system these days. Kyrie Irving. We talked a lot about Irving. We've talked a lot about the Nets. I'm just curious. Like people down here were actually referring to it as the Mavs getting help by getting Kyrie. And I laughed out loud reading those tweets because I'm like, when did Kyrie help anyone? What were your thoughts on that move and where the Nets are now and where the Mavs are now after that move?
So first of all, again, not often I break news on this story, but I will. But Brooklyn Nets fans are going to be hosting a parade down Flatbush Avenue when the season ends. Regardless of what happens in the playoffs, it's a Kyrie is gone parade.
Yes.
Even the most like Meshuggah Nets fan, like that's it. They had it, right?
Right.
And that's the big question in all this, right? Because look, I heard what you just said, but every franchise that he's gone to, they won at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Heck, he hits the shot, not LeBron, that wins the NBA title in Cleveland, right? So nobody ever disputed his talent, but I mean, he shows up at every place that he gets traded to with a can of gasoline and a butane lighter in his bag, right? And then it's just a matter of when does he feel the need to go up while the teacher has his back turned and light the entire room on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
He can't help himself. He's another guy who thinks he's the smartest guy in any room. And once he comes out with some position on anything, he can't be advised or instructed or being brought to reason that you sound like an absolute moron. Change your tune. Can't do it. So the real question is, at what point does what point is a play called to Luka where Kyrie just says nope? And the rift begins, right? At what point does Dallas have to face the Luka saying it's me or it's him?
Speaking of Luka, I mean, I wouldn't mess with this cat, especially after they had a shot of Mark Cuban sitting, this was a few weeks ago, with Luka's father, who really did look like Luca Brasi. And I was thinking maybe that was, I mean, is there any word on the street that helped expedite the idea that they needed help for Luka Doncic on the court there? Because, wow, I wouldn't mess with this guy. Did you see Luka's father by any chance, Lenn Robbins, sitting next to Cuban during that game that Dallas was playing? Scary looking cat. Yeah.
Unlike you for being so foolish with your comments now. I think he's an incredibly handsome man.
You look like Anthony Quinn in Requiem for a Heavyweight, this guy.
I think he has a real appeal to him.
Yeah.
It might have to do with the 357 Magnum he has on the flap of his jacket. But, you know, look, make no mistake about it, right? Luka knows exactly who and what he is. He's not just the face of the Mavericks. You know, he's on the verge of being the face of the NBA.
Yep.
If Kyrie Irving comes in there and for 1 second thinks that he's going to be the guy, and Kyrie's going to say all the right things. You know, he's going to say it's Luka's team. He's going to say that, you know, I think I can just help this team take the next step, blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you, the first time that he takes a shot that, you know, in clutch time where the ball didn't get to Luka or whatever, you can start your calendars right there and then, right? That's the beginning of the draws.
Let's get into some heavy matters concerning the Super Bowl, the stuff that we're concerned with. I'm going against the grain. I think most people bet heads on the coin toss. I'm going to take tails. I'm going to parlay that, and I'm hoping you have some insight into this. I don't know what kind of country music fan you are. We are not. Lubie might be more inclined to listen to country music because he was Bengalied by some girl at like NASCAR he was married to at one time.
This is my now wife.
he knew that Chris Stapleton was not a defenseman for the Los Angeles Kings, which so he's doing the anthem. I don't know. Is there any kind of trend? You're at Bet Basics. I mean, do they have any trends on country singers over under on length of the anthem?
It's really interesting you brought that up because I read a fascinating piece the other day by Wright Thompson, who people don't know him, is the best sports profile writer, maybe of all time.
Yeah, we talked him a few weeks back.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He did a piece on how Clayton Kershaw is absolutely like fixated on time, right? Like if he says he's going to meet you for an interview at 6:30, it's not 6:30-ish. He will be there exactly at 6:30. And he actually can be like thrown out of whack if the national anthem singer goes long, right? Like 30 seconds long or whatever, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I've been taking wages at my house for years now on how long the national anthem would be. And you hear like the first note or two. Because there are singers now who turned like a one word into like a 16-syllable note. Right?
I love that. Yeah, I always play the over.
The freak. Right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dogs are now howling and stuff.
Well, I mean, if you want to throw Clayton Kershaw off his game, it just occurred to me. I mean, just sit behind home plate where Larry King and Mary Hart usually are at Dodger games and hold up a big picture of Aretha Franklin. But she was great, right? Didn't she come out there? Was it Gladys Knight? It might have been Gladys Knight. I forget who it was that came out there and did like a 2-minute kind of Beethoven intro on a piano before she even got into the anthem, which I counted. And then the overplayers were rejoicing. Now, I'm going to be in Atlantic City, and I managed to glom a couple of tickets to the Harris Pool Party for the Super Bowl, which should be great because it's free food and drink, and I didn't pay for the tickets. Courtesy of my wife's losing slot play. But it only cost me like $3,000 probably last night to get the tickets to get a free hot dog with some sauerkraut. But I would imagine, I mean, I'm thinking it's 99% Eagles fans, many of whom may have family ties to other operations in the city that may also be taking action on the game. Is it okay to be, in there thinking that Kansas City has a shot? What do you think? Do you give the Chiefs a chance to beat the point spread and beat the Eagles ultimately, even if Mahomes might be slightly compromised in this game?
All right. Well, there are two things here. First of all, my new business venture is I'm now selling renting retired police horses to Philadelphia Eagles fans so that they can punch the horses throughout the game.
They go Alex Karras, right? Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. And look, I'm an animal lover, so, I have to go against all my, all of my deep found, morals and scruples. Look, here's the deal, right? If you want to bet the Chiefs, who I think it's pretty clear right now across the board are the inferior team. If you want to bet the Eagles, what you're saying is you are betting against Superman, right? Because what Patrick Mahomes has done, and people at the time, we tend to get carried away with like the event of the moment, right? They're saying that, you know, the AFC title game was his greatest performance because of how badly hurt he was. Certainly make a case for that, but this guy's Superman. Okay. So do you want to bet against him? Do you think that Andy Reid can come up with enough plays to keep them in the game into the fourth quarter, and then Mahomes, puts on the cape and the Eagles are wondering, what happened to our kryptonite? I happen to think that based on what I saw, and I know he's had 2 weeks to heal up, those high ankle sprains, that's a month at least. That's 6 weeks at least. So it kills me to say this because, here's one of the problems with Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia hates New York. Philadelphians hate New York.
Yes.
We don't care at all about them. We don't care. Like, they don't even register on our radio, like our right? Like, what do they have? They have, like, the Liberty Bell. And by the way, people don't know this. The crack in the Liberty Bell, it actually was a hairline crack. But then when they tried to fix it,
yes,
that's the crack that you now see. So that's Philadelphia workmanship. Right?
They think Cheese Whiz is good. Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, they honestly believe that Philadelphia cream cheese was made in Philadelphia. No.
Yeah.
No. So, they're angry. They recognize that their only place in life is they are a stop on the Northeast Corridor Amtrak. That's all about.
I'll throw all those insults out there when I'm in the pool party there at the Paris Casino. Yeah.
You got my home address, right?
Yeah.
You do, right?
I would think you would want to disavow any knowledge you're connected to me. Yeah, after that performance.
I stand by my people. If you have to get out of AC fast, not that you would be the first one. You are welcome at the Robbins abode. Welcome.
All right, final thing. And you worked at Madison Square Garden for a good period of time there, because I remember introducing you for a couple of years as being associated with MSG Network and MSG.com. I don't know what your familiarity was, or your thoughts were about James Dolan, who was running the show, but have you been singled out? I mean, are you able to go in and see like the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall, or are you one of the people that's been subjected to the identification process that weeds out anybody that has said anything or has directed anything negative towards James Dolan?
Okay, so two things here. I was being banned from the Garden before there was even facial recognition. So, right? Now, second of all, and this is an absolute true story. One of the attorneys, the guy who really has become the lightning rod now for this whole fiasco, Ben Pinchevsky. I became friends with Ben the first day of first grade at PS 115.
Oh, wow.
And here we are, I don't know, 70 years later, we are still best friends, right? Wow. And the moment he texted me and said, I just got booted from the Garden, I was like, James Dolan has no idea the can of whoop ass that he just opened. Look, Ben's parents were Holocaust survivors.
Oh, wow.
A lot of civil rights work. I don't know if you guys remember the show, What Would You Do? Right? Where they have placed in. Okay. Go find the clip, Ben Pinchevsky, What Would You Do? It's one of the most ferocious reactions to like someone being, am I allowed to say asshole too?
Yeah,
like,
you can say
yeah. We do all kinds of things here.
I shouldn't have even asked. This is not going to go away. It's not going to go away for Dolan. And the important thing about this, right, in terms of being a Knicks fan, here's why the Knicks will never win an NBA title, because any free agent out there who is even thinking about coming to the Knicks, right, is saying, why do I want to go to a place where every 6 months the owner becomes the dysfunctional story?
Yes.
I don't want to be there. Can you imagine LeBron being here?
No. I mean, and that was a turning point, I guess, in the Knicks franchise history when James Dolan couldn't talk LeBron James, who naturally, relishes this sort of spotlight.
Yep.
Declined to go to the Mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden, to play most of his games. Imagine what it would be like at MSG tonight if LeBron was going for the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar record.
Dolan has to go away. He has to go away. If he ever wants the Knicks to win another title, he has to.
Tom Thibodeau looks like he's aged 100 years in the last couple of seasons, hasn't he? My God. I mean, I don't know that he was, particularly lively looking before, but my God. He really looks like, some old man that they pulled out of the crowd there, all hunched over and squinting. He doesn't look good, even though the Knicks have a winning record. Len, always a pleasure. Bet Basics, what can people find there, and where can they find your work?
BetBasics.com. Any Super Bowl bet that you're possibly thinking of is there. And by the way, I'm just going to say this real quick. I know you're up against time crunch here.
Yeah.
I have an experiment. How you know you're in an overly demanding job?
Yes.
Go look at every president before they took office and then 4 or 8 years after they left office.
Yeah.
And I'm now calling that the Tom Thibodeau syndrome.
Oh, he looks like he got hit with a haymaker by Father Time, this guy. I mean, he just looks like he's in pain all the time, even early in games, right? It's like 1-0, and Thibodeau looks like he's doubled over in, grief. All right, Len, always a pleasure, my friend. Bet Basics, betbasics.com. You can find a lot of Lenn Robbins' work. It's all terrific, and always great having you on the show. Thanks so much for being with us, my friend.
Pleasure. Remember, guys, how would Santos lie? It'll free up your life.
Thanks, man.
That thing called Google, I mean, certainly made it easily refutable that a certain friend of mine who claims to have played for the New York Jets, to me, can you imagine? He's telling me I played for the Jets.
You've watched.
I'm like, I know you didn't play for the Jets. I mean, look, I mean, tell that to, this girl at the bar there if you want to. She might not be able to look it up fast enough for, to be exposed as a complete and blatant. But Santos probably believes his own lies. There are guys like that, right?
Yes.
They actually believe it. They convinced themselves that they played for the Jets, like this cat. That way, unbelievable. Got the uniform, the Jets uniform with a number on it, his name on the back. I'm like, yeah, that proves it. All right. All right, Lubie, good job. Vegan. Think vegan, my friend. The rabbit, what is it? The rabbit hole.
Yes.
See, now, why would a vegan place, have a name with an animal on it? Is there some significance there? I don't know. We'll have to check with me.
Rabbits don't eat meat.
Oh, the rabbit only eats carrots. Yeah, okay.
Yes. That we're the rat, like they are the rabbit serving us what,
Okay, so that's good. All right. Wheatgrass, is that going to be one of the things?
I don't know. We've evolved since your LA days where they tried to eat healthy in an era where there wasn't a lot of interest.
No, that health food restaurant was way ahead of its time. It was called The Source on the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles, run by this hippy-dippy, mystical family, right? And they all wore white robes, but it wasn't the Yahwehs. I mean, these guys were actually like people of genuine peace. And, to an extreme, the hippy-dippy movement. But nonetheless, they were onto something. They were eating very, very healthy foods. Even stuff like French toast that they made was done, in a fashion that was far superior to what you would get, say, at a Waffle House in terms of its overall health benefits. But, made a lot of all natural. It was all natural stuff. It really was. They put, no artificial ingredients, nothing, no coloring, none of this garbage. And a very popular place right there on the Sunset Strip. Made pretty good money there. And, served a lot of very famous people who came in there. It would be great if you could stick to it, Lubie. That's the thing. You would be in perfect shape if you could just stick to those principles. But
I've had a buddy who's been vegan for 15 years now, and he's stuck. Give him a lot of credit. I wouldn't do that, but I'd love to eat more like that. That would be fine. That'd make me happy.
Everything in moderation, as they say.
Yes.
Everything in moderation. No, it'll be interesting. All right, 12 o'clock today with Mike Mayo. And hopefully it'll be a turning point. There'll be an epiphany there for Mayo. Not that he needs to, cut everything out of his diet, but, the doubling and tripling up of large meals. Plus, then straight for the leftovers, right? So the next morning, you're starting right out with a porterhouse steak in your gut. That's good if you're going to a refrigerator in Atlantic City when you've stuffed everything in the, in-room bar. And the problem is, as soon as even if a bottle wiggles in there,
Yeah, and they charge you.
It's $18, right? It's unbelievable for like an orange juice. All right. We'll see you at 12 o'clock today. You will be on the road. Nikki Mohan also going to be a part of that scene.
Yes,
so
sir.
that's going to be a lot of fun. Lubie will be out there. I'll be out there as well. We'll sample some of the fine vegan offerings at the Rabbit Hole on Atlantic Boulevard. That's 12 o'clock today. Our thanks to Lenn Robbins for joining us here on the show. Always a hoot. And we'll be back again tomorrow. Of course, Tony Segreto goes old school with us. And we'll start getting a little deeper into. I don't know what else to say about the Super Bowl. That's one of the things about when we used to arrive on Radio Row. Analysis of the game itself, has that pretty much been capsulized to the point where we know Philadelphia, I mean, theoretically has a better offense and defense. So we don't know what the comparison is between AFC and NFC. In other words, did the Kansas City Chiefs face much rougher overall opposition than the Eagles did this year?
I saw that people.
NFC East was good, but I mean, how great were the Giants? I mean, they ended up with a winning record. They weren't that great.
Well, the Chiefs' schedule wasn't actually that scary. That's the thing. The AFC West ended up falling flat. So the Chiefs
West was horrible this year. That was interesting. Yeah.
So,
but there were some heavyweights. I mean, you would have to say that the AFC, in terms of teams that you had respect for and thought were championship caliber, they had at least three of them, whereas the NFC probably only was able to offer up. They had San Francisco before they got knocked out, and then Philadelphia, which you have to give them credit no matter how it came about. They did knock off the San Francisco 49ers, but didn't look great doing it. Didn't look all that great. We'll see what happens. And, how would you rate Cincinnati? I would think Cincinnati was a pretty tough out in that spot, and Kansas City acquitted itself pretty well there, although they were somewhat life and death. And I agree with Len. I think you're going to see Mahomes' ankle deteriorate back to what we saw somewhat of, for the better part of the AFC Championship game. By the time he rolls around, late into the second half, that fourth quarter comeback may not be as easy to accomplish as it was when he took off, literally like that guy, Fujimoto, the Japanese gymnast. Hasn't been brought up yet, I would imagine, even on Radio Row. We'll see if we get some coverage there and anybody brings up, what was his name? Like Shug Fujimoto?
I have no idea. I've never heard of the guy.
Gymnast with the broken leg. He had to go off the steel rings and dismount there, and if he didn't stick the landing, it was over. Japan loses. If he can stand up on a broken leg after falling 20 feet to the canvas there, and doing a double somersault with 1.5 twists after being in an iron cross on the rings. That was gutsy, man. That was Kerry Strug all over again.
I was going to say Strug is.
Well, I was a predecessor to Strug. Strug came later on. All right, we'll see you at 12 o'clock today from the Rabbit Hole on Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach, Florida. Come on out and say hello for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. And then again tomorrow, of course, we'll have the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge Thursday and real Super Bowl-oriented Degenerate Friday coming up on Friday. And we'll see you at 12 o'clock as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:14.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.